32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Surlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence. And remember, it's Spaceboy's Universe, and you're in it.
Greetings and salutations, I'm Spaceboy.
And I'm Surlana.
And this is Spaceboy Universe. It is January 14, 2017, and tonight our guest is Red Viking Dave from the Metal Geeks Podcast. As always, follow us on Twitter, that's at the SBU Universe. You can follow Surlana at Surlana, and you can follow me, Spaceboy, at Spaceboy Music. But of course, follow the network that carries everything, and that's the SBU Network. Remember to use your hashtags, hashtag SB Universe and hashtag Space Cadets. Hang out with all the Space Cadets by going to SBUnetwork.com or SpaceboyUniverse.com. And at the top of the website, you'll find the player. In that player, you'll see the dancing chat bubble. Go ahead and click that, and that'll get you in with all the cool kids. In addition to Twitter, you can find us on basically social media by just searching Spaceboy Universe, Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. Like I said, just look for Spaceboy Universe. Speaking of YouTube, you can find more than the Spaceboy Universe archive of shows. There is video content from Spaceboy Music, video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. Can't check the show out live? No problemo. Take the SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and so much more. And as always, we love to broadcast. How are you tonight, Surlana?
Pretty good.
Well, it is Saturday.
Had an interesting day. Hopefully, maybe some good things will be coming our way.
Indeed. It was a very interesting day, and hopefully as the days come forward, we'll be able to tell you more about that, and so it's all good. So, right off the bat, we want to go ahead and give you week 2 of FIRST. You want to recap that real quick, briefly?
Yeah, what we're talking about is FIRST in Texas, which is the robotics competition that starts in the elementary school and goes all the way up through high school. We did talk to 2 of the students today. Mm-hmm. There was we'll get you that audio soon. There's a little glitch here. But we talked to students Keegan and Andrew, and they have started their prototyping on over there at their high school. So they are really enthused about the game Steamworks, kind of steampunk theme, and their team name is 1255 Blarglefish. Really easy to find them on social media. So they've got 24 people on their team this year, and they're really hyped about it. And what really fascinated me about this, and the kids we've interviewed in the past, is that they say they got into this, and they don't, even though they've got into this and they're enjoying it, they don't necessarily think they'll be an engineer or a mathematician or going to technology, but they have found aspects within this competition, within this experience, that is going to lead them onto other things. For instance, when we talked to Keegan, she said she doesn't necessarily want to, get into engineering or science, but she's interested in advertising and social media and marketing. And they let her take over the social media aspect for the Blarglefish team. So that's giving her experience, real world experience. It's something she's interested in. So it seems like these kids can find something that they need for the rest of their lives. Like when we went to Maker Faire and we interviewed, one of them was, they were doing competitions there, said that, he doesn't know that he would keep building or doing anything in this, necessarily in those STEM fields, but it taught him communication skills, which he did not have before, which he was forced to speak to, more adults, more people, and, with the team. And it was he's getting a more well-rounded education outside of the classroom. So that's something I really picked up on and have picked up on when we talk to these high school students. So if you want to know what is the latest going on with them, you can always follow them on their social media. Just look for 1255 Blarglefish. But they also have a website that says that is keeping track of everything. It's called thebluealliance.com. That gives you more info. There's a live stream there. I don't know when the live stream is active, but they are going to have a Kickstarter campaign on Tuesday at 12:55, because that's their team name is 12:55. At 12:55, they're going to release a Kickstarter campaign because they do have many costs involved with this competition. So when they go live, we will be retweeting that and posting that on our social media so you can learn more about helping them out if you'd like to. And it is a worldwide competition. I mean, this goes on in almost every country, every continent. So it's a pretty big deal. It's a great thing for people, for the kids all the way down in elementary school to high school. So it's a great thing to support, and I hope that you'll keep tuned with us so you can learn the progress and we can gather enthusiasm, and we will get you their audio for you after this broadcast.
Sure, and that audio will come. It just apparently when I loaded the audio for tonight's show, there's not that quick of in other words, I'm going from Spaceboy music to Spaceboy Universe. It takes me a little bit of programming to get it all set and ready and go. And unfortunately, I loaded the wrong audio file. But we are going to get that up so that you can actually listen to our conversation.
You had the raw file.
I had the raw file.
Edited.
It wasn't edited, and we strive for perfection here at the SBU. So, but yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we interview Andrew at the mini Maker Faire?
It's possible we might have, because I have a video where we're talking to somebody. He might have been the one driving the little triangle that was blowing bubbles.
No,
or he might have been.
Actually, okay. Now I can't believe I'm doing this on air. Who was the one that Jim sent over first? Cameron, that's right.
I think he may be out of high school by now.
Probably so. But he was entertaining too, Cameron as well. But
and when you actually hear the audio of our phone interview, Spaceboy mentions the A team, and they're
they'll let everybody you'll have to listen to this program.
What's the A team?
Let them listen. We'll be posting it later, and
we're going to go next Saturday, and we're going to drive way over there, which is the complete opposite side of Houston from where we live, because Houston is large. And we're going to go over there and take some video and do some interviews and teach them who the A-team are.
Yes, exactly. Da, 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 da. So, but other than that, Surlana, what else you got over there?
Oh, yes, it's banter time.
Yes, it is banter time.
Well, I was going through a website that has some of the topics that we cover, and they had the most highly anticipated upcoming games of 2017, and I went all the way through the list, and I went, I don't know any of these games. I don't know that I'll play them. I didn't think because you're a PC gamer, you're an old school gamer, and you like games that reflect the way like some of the old school games play, like side scrollers and little first person shooters. And so, but I did see that here's something coming out, maybe that would intrigue you: The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. but that is only on the new Nintendo formats. I don't know that you could play these new releases on our just plain old Wii. Because they said it was for Switch and Wii U.
Well, Switch, and I guess this makes us a second generation console behind of the current one. And I'm glad you brought up Nintendo because I recently downloaded Super Mario Run. And
is that for the phone?
Yeah, it's for the iPhone, iOS.
What is that exactly?
Basically, it's a Mario game, just like you would, the one I've played before here, and just different versions where you have to go rescue the princess. The basic theme of the premise is rescue the princess. So I downloaded it for my phone, and it's been quite entertaining. And I've gone through all the levels, but even though you go through the levels, it's set up to where you could go back and redo the levels, and things are shifted a little bit, and to collect certain coins, the colors of the coins change, and then there's things where you can do a rally, which is quite fun, where you see if you can compete against somebody. I don't think it's live. I think it's it's something where I don't know exactly how they do it, but
basically, is it like the old school game, but it's differently formatted for the phone, or is it something completely new?
No, I wouldn't say it's pretty much like you could play it with one hand, because what happens is in this game, Mario just runs. Okay. And every time you tap the screen, he jumps. So
it's not like the actual game from the console.
Yeah, when he runs, you tap the screen, he jumps, and then it kind of, some jumps will push you back a little bit, and then go forward again, and quite frankly, it's fun and entertaining. And are you, what? Oh, I see.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
So yeah, I highly recommend it. That's the point I guess I was getting to, is that I've enjoyed my Mario on my phone, and
So you think you would bother getting another console? Because you and I are fully fulfilled with Steam, which is PC.
That's really hard because, lately I've thought, it would be great to own a new console. Just the fact that, it's a console meant to run, like whether it's an Xbox, whether it's a PlayStation, whether it's a new Nintendo. I'm not too, I got to give props to Nintendo. I mean, they keep it basic, and it's still fun to play. They don't have 20 million buttons like PlayStation or Xbox do for their controllers. Not to say that I'm not capable of doing that. It's just, they just bear it down. What is it going to take, the bare minimum, for you to enjoy a game? And they pretty much own that as far as I could see. And so when it comes to Nintendo, this new format, this new game that they have come out, Switch, it's really geared up for portability.
Yes, to take it with you.
Take it with you.
Take someone else's house.
Take it with you. Take it to somebody else's house, or instantly plug it in, and then boom, you're on a big TV.
Well, that's kind of nice. Don't you think?
To be able to go anywhere. Yeah, that's a
novel. They have an edge over the other two, don't they?
Exactly, because the other two, they're monster machines compared to the small little Switch that's coming out. So, but yeah. I'll wait and see. The other thing I'm still kind of bugged about is the Nintendo Classic.
Still can't get it?
Still can't get it. Don't know when.
Are they going to do another round?
Is that it? Your guess is as good as mine, and I've heard rumors that they might be entertaining the idea of a Super NES Mini and a 64 Mini.
Maybe you wait and get on top of that one.
I don't know. I think I'm better off building my own game
with a Raspberry Pi.
With a Raspberry Pi.
That'd be more entertaining.
And they've got USB Nintendo lookalike controllers. Mm-hmm. So I'm really kind of thinking, ever since the Nintendo Classic came out, that Raspberry Pi is not that expensive to buy the kit and everything for under $100.
Oh. You could get the kit and put it in one of those plain project boxes and make it look like the internet, quote unquote. If you don't know what we're talking about, you haven't seen the IT crowd or the IT crowd. So
So anyway, that's what I'm thinking about doing. Building my own meme arcade that way, and I could do the Nintendo. I could also build something with the classic games of the 80s. And, because I've always wanted my own stand-up arcade, but since I'm not made of money or anything. I might as well, a Raspberry Pi would be the perfect solution to that.
Yeah.
But going the final thoughts on the arcade, the new system. You're absolutely right. We're a Steam family. We buy Steam games.
Steam powered from Valve.
Yeah, so it's very difficult.
All hell, Gaben.
To go to back to a console. When Steam,
everything's right there.
Steam works
Although
out.
you could buy a Steam box, and you can pop your Steam games over onto your onto the TV and play them.
Now I've kind of done that when I've been online with my other computer in a different room. So I've experienced how to do the linking games. I've done that with 2 computers in the same house. However, they do put out a system for you to download your games and play it, their very own. But even at that, I don't even know if I'd want to do that.
I don't think we have any point in doing that.
No, because the computers are so easy to just play games that way. So, but so it is what it is. So what else you got over there?
I found out something. I'm really kind of interested in. I don't know if I'll be able to afford it. I don't know, but it sounds really cool. You can now pre-order for something that will be released this fall. Squeezebox, the complete recordings of Weird Al Yankovic.
Cool.
And it will come in a replica box that is shaped like his accordion. So that I'm kind of jazzed about. It's got pretty much everything he's ever released that was released on an album.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be kind of cool. And I found out Better Call Saul is coming back April 10th, and that's still too far away.
But still, the exciting part about this next season is Gus is back. And so, it'll be cool to see him whole compared to half of his face blown off. And so I'm looking forward to that, with Better Call Saul. So I think this next season is going to be really good because I think we're going to see Saul really metamorphosized from Jimmy to Saul, and that should be good. What do you think?
Sorry, I was typing.
I can hear you.
I'm sorry. That's the quietest keyboard I could get. I'm excited about it. I know one of these characters is coming back. It's not a big secret.
Yeah.
But I'll be jazzed to see how they're going to integrate that. So it's still too far away. I'm going to forget everything that's ever happened.
Well, it's funny to think that it's been practically a year since the last time we've seen Better Call Saul. I remember, what's funny about that is how we were doing our review of Better Call Saul, and it just seemed like it just didn't want to do it. No matter how many times we typed into Word and I looked at you intently to have a conversation with you about Better Call Saul and record, it just didn't seem.
Yeah, there's the universe doesn't want us to talk about Better Call Saul. So, and then I've got. I just saw this before we went live. I was looking at a website, and I had never heard of this. There was a TV show on for a very brief period called Starcade. I had never heard of it, but basically it was Jeopardy, but just about video games of the time. It was in the 83 to 84. I never saw it. Did you see it back in the day? Did you know about it?
I've seen some of them, some of the episodes, and I remember that. And then plus there was another show I can't remember where people would compete on video games. They had a certain amount of time, but this one was more of I guess you could say a trivia show based upon the games that were out there at that time. And it was quite entertaining. I think even Alex Trebek was on it for a brief moment, or...
Yeah, that makes sense because it's sort of a Jeopardy-like format.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was definitely one of those shows that was quite entertaining, talking about video games and trivia and all that good stuff. And so, I'm getting the finger from Surlana.
I'm not giving you a finger.
What? I didn't say what finger. I just said...
I was holding up one finger, my index finger, to indicate that something's about to happen.
Okay, well, good. Well, I always like when something's about to happen on the universe. I didn't say that you were saying... You were giving me the index finger, like, okay, hold on.
Well, when you say a finger, people assume it's the wrong
Well,
one.
then those people need to get their mind out of the gutter because
the only time I would ever do that is when I'm on my way out the door to never come back. So that's the only time you'll ever see that. So, and notice you've never seen that.
No, not yet, because we just love each other so much. We just can't imagine a world without each other.
They're not playing charades. It's just we need to work out our own sign language.
Hey, Space Cadets, have you had an opportunity to see some of the pictures I've been posting out there? Have you seen what's behind me? I finally broke down and purchased a Willy Wonka and a Chocolate Factory poster with, guess whom? Gene Wilder. See, I got it right this time.
And I get to stare at it all night long.
Yes,
or he gets to stare at me all night long.
He's like looking at you like, hey, Surlana.
No.
Yeah, when are you going to patch that call through? I think somebody mentioned to me that I need to now get a Gene Hackman poster and to make it all complete.
Well, there's no more room on the wall.
Well, there's more room over here.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so, But
thankfully, there's someone on the phone.
And
well, who do we got here?
Who do we got here?
Hey, it's Laura. It's Jane.
Hey, Jane, how are you? You're doing fabulous.
I'm great.
So
Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to call you on the phone or here, so I was maybe late to the game or right on time.
No, you're right on time.
You're right on time because
Good.
we were starting a descent into madness over here, and but everyone, I'm
sure I can add to that.
Just to remind everybody, this is UFO Jane. We had on last month, and we've invited her back, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more of her on the universe, and as she updates us periodically about UFO happenings out there in the universe. So, Jane, what do you have for us?
So, well, there's always a lot of UFO activity. Fortunately for me, it keeps me pretty busy. So I know last time on the show, when I was fortunate enough to be a guest, we talked about all the triangle sightings and how that was pretty intense. And so that has continued. That just kind of continues to chug along. It's pretty amazing. But we've also seen over the past few weeks a lot of sightings of UFOs and orbs around the ISS and even rocket launches and things like that. So that's super interesting. But I know also I was emailing you guys about, oddly enough, sightings of aliens.
Really?
Yes. Or I guess you could even say hallucinations. I think it's still noteworthy. I'm sure that you guys are all familiar with the typical alien abduction phenomenon, stereotype of, the gray alien beings, taking you up in their ship and examining you, kind of, that frightening experience. And I typically just don't see reports of that very often. There were some very famous ones, from back in the 60s and 70s. And, I'll see them sort of here and there. But over the past, in November and December in Texas and in other parts of the country, just seeing a lot of reports of these sort of stereotypical accounts. And it's, and what I mean by stereotypical, they're in a dreamlike state, the gray alien beings and the sense of being in some kind of cold, spaceship. Some people get the impression that they're friendly. Other people are more frightened. There was an encounter in Florida from a child who called them monsters, and that was sort of sad. That was, really sad to read. And they had a picture that they drew of this gray alien. And so it's interesting, we see the increase in the triangle crafts, and then we see the increase in these reports. And, as far as I know, all these witnesses are writing and just totally isolated and aware of these other accounts that are happening. And there were 2 accounts, in Texas, actually one, right outside of Houston, just within a few months of each other that were really similar. So I just thought that was quite an interesting trend, that I'll be watching, into 2017 for sure.
Makes me want to get out in the car at night and go north and see what we can find.
Say you. I mean, the last thing I need to be is probed by one of them mantis things. Boy, those things look freaky.
I know. I'm not sure. Oh, and there was actually a report of a praying mantis creature in Texas, along with these gray alien beings in the same time span recently. So that was pretty crazy.
Aren't some of
seeing this giant praying mantis like bug creature?
Oh Lord!
And believe it or not, that's Spaceboy. It sounds like you've heard of that before, but that's a reported creature. Mm-hmm. That's something that's documented.
They're supposed to be the overlords or the creators of the small grays, apparently.
The surveyors, right?
I know that then in a few months we're planning on doing a show on alien races, and of course we would definitely like to invite you back and put your spin on that conversation. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So before we let you go, remind everybody how they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's lots of ways. TexasUFOs.com is updated every day, and that's where, everything, ultimately ends up. But I'm also on YouTube at Texas UFO Sightings, Facebook, Texas UFOs, and then Instagram, UFO Jane, UFO Jane TX. Because UFO Jane was taken, unfortunately.
Oh, that's sad.
You can get all those links, on the site. Of course, I'm sure that's a lot to remember. But, yeah, I'm everywhere, so I'm easy to find.
I was also going to say that you're also, periodically we have, posts that we do on Spaceboy Universe promoting your website. So if they get lost trying to find you there, they can at least find you on the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I really appreciate.
Hey, we're just one big happy Texas family, and we like to keep it real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super cool to connect and freak you out about nearby aliens.
That's what he needs.
Lurking outside of Houston.
I'm sure Surlana is thanking you right now for the fact that I'll probably keep one eye open.
There's probably one standing right outside that window right now listening.
Oh my!
Yeah, well, I would not recommend going with them. That would be my advice. And no offense to any aliens, really kind aliens listening who have really good intentions, but I just would recommend just staying put. I think that's the best protocol.
Good advice. Well, Jane, we appreciate you stopping by, and we look forward to another report from you very soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure things will happen.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yay, cool. UFO Jane there. So, yeah, that's UFO Jane. Expect to hear more from her.
We're hearing more stories about abductions. Like I said, abductions have started ramping up.
Yeah, because it's been I forgot who we were talking to at the time, but I had mentioned you don't hear many abduction things. It might have been a conversation I had with Reverend John Polk, who, incidentally, is on the SBU network on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m.
Nice segue.
Central Standard Time. It was a wonderful conversation with Reverend John Polk, and you should check out his show. I mean, he talks about, I guess the new term is called experiencers. And, it's, I guess it's, it's the times that, they change. I guess people go from being abductees or experiencing.
Or it could be all part of a deliberate conspiracy for other purposes.
Mm-hmm. Well, Surlana, well, guess what? We've made it to the bottom of the hour, so let me go ahead and play some music so we can get our guest on. Mm-hmm. And so don't go anywhere. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU Network. We'll be back right after this. So you're listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network, and we have Dave Viking. Well, now I got my tongue.
Red Viking Dave?
Thank you, Red Viking Dave. There goes my dyslexia again.
The problem with that is we know a lot of Daves.
Yeah, we know too many Daves.
There's a lot of Daves.
There's a few
in
of
our
us
world.
around.
Yeah, there is too many Daves that we know. But
These are the Daves I know.
Yes.
You ever see that old Kid in the Hall
Yes,
sketch?
yes, I have. I've seen that.
Well, so Red Viking Dave, I didn't get a chance to get your bio, so this would be a great time to kind of give our audience, a little bio from you directly. So if you can give us that.
Okay. I am. I wear a lot of hats. I guess one that's relevant to what we're doing right here. I am a podcaster. I'm on the Metal Geeks Podcast regularly as a co-host, and on there we talk. The name says it all. We're metalheads who talk about geeky stuff. So I've been a geek my whole life. I've been a metalhead since I was like 13. I love music in general, but I love heavy metal in and of itself. So that's what we do on the podcast. I'm also an artist. That's actually what my education and training is in. I'm an artist and a designer. I kind of do my own work, which you can see some of what I'm up to if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Red Viking Dave. I post stuff there. And I also run Geekazoid with my wife, which is actually how we met. We were at the Houston Mini Maker Fair as Geekazoid. And that's a geek-centered kind of merch shop. We do decals and buttons and print phone cases, and we can print on all kinds of different stuff. So that's kind of me. Like I said, heavy metal fan. I am interested in culture in general, in art, in the sciences, and in particularly weird stuff, which is another reason why I think I'm here.
Yeah, for sure.
And do you have any children, Dave?
I have 2 kids.
Uh-huh. And what do they think of Dad? Coming in the aspect of like the overgrown kid.
To them, it's like asking. I probably like asking a fish what it's like to be in water all the time. It's just what they grew up around. Both of their parents are nerds and artists, and we're just kind of weird. And that's just the environment, and they're coming up in it themselves. They're both all into, Pokemon and Minecraft and Star Wars and all that stuff. So
cool. Getting the next generation trained on geek culture. It's very important. So we met you at the Houston Mini Maker Fair, and I immediately looked at you and thought, this guy is quite interesting. And then when I guess we learned your name, Red Viking Dave, it was like all of a sudden, it's like Surlana will tell you, I have these moments where I start, I'll picture things, and immediately I saw you as this Viking. Because you have the hair of a Viking. You just have the persona that just kind of pours off you. So how did you get the name? I mean, for me, the Viking part, yeah. I mean, for me, it's like Spaceboy. I've always been interested in space, and it just seemed natural to tie that together with my music and then the podcasting and the broadcasting. Tell us a little bit about that, Dave.
I think I've been associated with Vikings for 10, 12, probably 15 years now, and some of that has to do with all of the being a metalhead, being very very openly and visibly metal. I just have that look about me, and because of the long hair, because of the beard and everything like that, I've had. And because of the association in heavy metal, there's a lot of Viking representation, a lot of warrior representation in heavy metal. And so people just some people started calling me Thor. And I had like all these other kind of Viking kind of names. And so that was a name that I kind of stuck with me, and I decided to start using as sort of an online presence kind of a thing. So
I'm hearing the Immigrant song in my head as he's talking.
So nice.
So you said in your bio you got into metal music when you were 13. How did you get drawn to that, and what did you like about it then, and why do you still like it today?
I started learning to play guitar about that time.
Nice.
And I guess I've always liked strange and dark things, which I partially blame on my parents taking me to Disneyland when I was 5 and letting me ride the Haunted Mansion over and over. And so that's another weird thing about me, and one of the reasons why I'm a co-host on the Metal Geeks Podcast is I'm also a huge Disney nerd. So I'm all death metal and horror movies in Disney. So,
what an interesting combination.
Yeah, so there you go. But anyway, that kind of the early influences are these like dark, weird things. Haunted Mansions. Watching old Addams Family and Munsters reruns on TV. Mm-hmm. I love that stuff, and anything that was slightly odd always kind of resonated with me. And so when I started learning how to play guitar and started learning about music, I liked stuff that was kind of dark. I had that teenage angst. I had that confusing time in life, and so I got into that sort of thing, and then anything that had dark imagery. But then I was also very concerned with the technically proficient aspects of learning to play guitar. And in metal, I found the dark imagery and the aggression, as well as the technical expertise, that really spoke to me at that time. A lot of heavy metal is very physically demanding to perform, and requires a lot of discipline and expertise on the instruments. Mm-hmm. And so that all appealed to me. And I've just, like I said, I have a love of music in general, but metal in particular is a kind of a defining character trait of mine, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I like metal in and of itself. I love the subculture. I love the artwork. I love the people. Everything else, I like music, but I'm much more selective outside of that. It's just kind of random things. There's not particular genres I necessarily cling to. It's just kind of I pick little pieces here and there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you have any other genres you like, or any favorite songs outside of metal.
Sure. Oddly enough, one of my favorite bands is Counting Crows, which strikes a lot of people as really
diametrically opposite.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I like that. I like some classical music. I like some electronic music. I was listening to some of your stuff on the music show before this, and I enjoyed that. That was pretty cool. I like kind of ambient sounds and stuff that kind of sets a mood. So like the Stranger Things soundtrack. That was awesome.
Wow. Yeah. What a great.
That's very nice and retro. And
their opening theme. Awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So I got into them because that was a band called Survive or at least members of the band Survive did the music for Stranger Things. So I kind of got into them after that as well. So check them out if you haven't heard them yet. That's where the music for Stranger Things came from. Yeah,
we'll definitely have to check that out. Now, Dave, you mentioned some of these other bands, but I'm really curious to get into your roots. What were some of the earlier, younger Dave's influences in when it comes to music?
Really early on, I was kind of coming of age during the grunge and alternative era. So a lot of those bands,
90s?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those bands still stick with me. Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, those guys have always been favorites of mine. But I was also, of course, a lot of people's gateway into heavy metal music was Metallica.
Yeah.
So they were influential on me early on. I don't listen to them so much anymore. Their new album that they came out with just a couple months ago is actually pretty good, but don't listen to them as much anymore. Other early bands I listened to, Dream Theater was one I listened to a lot of.
Oh yeah.
Again, that's that technical aspect that I was really into at that time. I listened to a lot of Christian death metal bands actually at that time, which a lot of people find to be an oxymoron.
I know, but back in the day, because I guess maybe we might be slightly older than you. I don't know. I listened to I can't remember their name of it, but they had this Striper.
Yeah, Striper.
Yeah,
Okay,
I used to listen to them.
Yeah, I never got into Striper. They were a little too 80 and cheesy for my tastes at that time.
See, I grew up in that era of the hair band, so I still cling to it. In fact, the 90s when they went grunge is probably when you were finding what appeals to you. Grunge on radio pushed out the music I liked, which was the pop. And in the 90s, I couldn't find anything I liked, and I hated country. I didn't like the grunge. I was forced to techno, and that's where I found my true love was electronic music.
We did a show on electronic music.
The history of EDM.
Yeah, and one of the things that Surlana and I have talked about is how the end of the 80s, the disc jockeys decided, enough of this new wave stuff, and decided to go the alternative grunge.
They killed it for me.
More rock orientated. Probably a lot of the music you listen to, and it forced artists that we like to listen to go underground. So then you get the rave, you get the techno, and then you hear a lot of these things in the club. So
I've heard some techno that's just as edgy as some metal because it's just so the instruments can be kind of grating and repetitive, but.
Yeah, there's certainly some crossover there as well,
like industrial.
Yeah, and the arrival of grunge and alternative rock and everything, of course, did what you described to a lot of heavy metal, a lot of electronic music and everything like that went underground. I think it did largely kill the glam rock thing, which I have.
And maybe it needed to go.
It probably did, but I've developed an appreciation for some parts of that in kind of a historical context and kind of its place in the history of heavy metal and everything. But it's never really been my thing. But because of what happened with radio and that kind of thing in the 90s, a lot of metal bands went underground as well, and there was massive growth of the subculture and the subgenres of metal during that time as well, which I later got into some of the more. Once I was well established and I was I was looking for the next heavier, darker thing. You go further and further underground, and there's such a wealth of quality and creative artistic expression there, and I've never turned back. I'm still there, and I'm still digging, looking for the next thing.
Are you familiar with dark wave as a genre?
Kind of. I'm familiar with the term.
That's about all I know about it too.
Yeah. Okay. There's other genres that I probably listen to more that are probably associated with it, like black wave and black gaze, which is like a mixing of like shoegaze music with black metal. So I dig that kind of thing. I don't know how closely that relates with dark wave, but I have heard the term before. I think dark wave is more electronic though.
Yeah, that's right. So do you have a favorite metal band before we leave the music topic?
That is such a hard question to
top three
to answer. Still not hardly possible.
Okay, I won't put you in a corner.
But probably some of my long-time Megadeth is probably my all-time favorite as far as just amount that I've listened to, a number of times I've seen live. Opeth is right up there with them. Beyond that, I'm not really sure. There's so many. To put it in perspective for you, in 2016 alone, there were literally hundreds of heavy metal releases last year that were of superb quality. I have another podcast associate who's called That Drummer Guy, and he released his top 100 metal albums of 2016. Not here are 100 metal albums. Here's the 100 best ones. And then he still had room for honorable mentions after the fact. there is such a wealth of good stuff going on in heavy metal right now.
So it's still being produced heavily.
Yeah. In fact, that's what I was going to ask is, how does the future look for metal music in general?
Really good right now. Really good. If 2016 is any indication, and if what I'm seeing coming up in 2017 is any indication, what us metalheads have always known is proving to be true. Metal is never going away, despite what the haters and critics want to say.
Well, I wonder if that's because maybe it's a reaction to what's going on in the world, and there's a lot to shout about.
A lot of angst out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of the silver lining to all of the terrible things happening, is at least we get good art out of it, right?
Yeah,
right.
From suffering comes great art.
As they say.
Did you like David Bowie, or were you into him at all, or?
I appreciate David Bowie a good deal. I can't honestly say I was really heavily into his music. As a kid, I of course knew him from The Labyrinth and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But, the Goblin King.
Yeah, the Goblin King. But I can't honestly say I was ever really big into his music. I certainly appreciate the impact that he had as a musician and an artist on all genres of music. Just a highly influential figure. So yeah, I guess that answers your question.
Yeah. Just one more. What about Weird Al?
I like Weird Al a great deal.
He's got like a mega release coming out this fall. In a huge. It's beyond an anthology. It's like everything he's ever produced on a label, and it's going to come out in a replica of his accordion. So I'm really looking to that. But
I think if you've ever spent any real time in real nerd culture, you probably love Weird Al. No matter. Oh my gosh,
my entire youth was listening to Dare to Be Stupid, my cassette tape of Dare to Be Stupid, over and over and over and over. And I remember when I heard Girls Just Want to Have Lunch for the very first time. When he got to that part with she eats like she got a hole in her neck and I'm the one that always gets stuck with a check, I cried. I was hurting. So, that's just something, part of my childhood you can never take away. But to get to the important stuff,
let's do it.
We'll have to do it after the break. Or,
yeah, well, we've done I guess the first segment of music, which is important.
Getting to know you, and touching base with your musical side. I was going to say, we're going to get into the pop culture.
To kind of give you my thing quickly is that I'm old enough to remember David Bowie's, I guess, glam rock days, going back to the beginning, and so actually, Spaceboy was actually inspired by David Bowie. In fact,
I love Spaceboy.
One of my favorite bands, the Pet Shop Boys, worked with him on one of the songs that he did, which that's where I came up with Spaceboy. Spaceboy was, I guess, created musically for me back in March of '99. So I've been doing it that long. But I agree with you. I kind of like the glam rock days, but going through like the '80s bands, you had Rat, Scorpions, some of these Motley Crue has a certain appeal to me. But you have some of these other great bands that are out there, and I wanted to really to end this segment. Do you remember the controversy or recall reading about when they created the metal category and they gave it to a band that was not really metal?
Jethro Tull.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and the Grammys have been doing that ever since. Mm-hmm.
So I guess I get your how do you feel about the Grammys then?
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's essentially like the Oscars. It's a bunch of industry insiders patting themselves on the back. That's how I feel about all of those kinds of awards.
That's too mainstream for a metalhead, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
maybe it is,
but I've always been fascinated by that particular one, where it's a perfect example of the industry not even knowing what the subject matter.
They have no clue. Mm-hmm. Basically, what the Grammys do every year with their metal picks, and especially their winners, is they prove their ignorance of the metal subgenre. They have no idea what's going on.
All right, Dave. Well, we've reached the top of the hour. Let's play some music to take a little break here. That'll give you a chance to walk away from the mic if you need to for a few minutes. And but audience, get your drink, get your chips, whatever you need to do. Get back to that headphone set. We'll be back very shortly because you're listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network. So don't go anywhere.
are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Now here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Indeed, indeed. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network, and you can find that at SBUnetwork.com, where all the shows are located, whether it be Spaceboy Music, Spaceboy Universe, even our show on Wednesday night. Well, not necessarily our show, but the Reverend John Polk show on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tune into the network that is bringing you universal knowledge. Anyway, so we're talking to Red Viking Dave, and he is quite the interesting guy and has quite, I guess, an iconic look to himself, and I can appreciate that. I mean,
I blend right in at a metal show. You wouldn't even notice me.
It's funny, I went to a job interview and then got this job, and my current employer, I'll just say this, is that he thought that I was a jazz musician. And I couldn't,
Right.
I play a lot of electronic music, but, it's
the sideburns.
It's the sideburns, I guess, that, because he couldn't figure out, what's the deal with the sideburns, because, I've got these kind of Elvis-like sideburns.
I never thought the first thing about your sideburns. They seem normal to me because I don't go around checking other men out like that.
Well, I appreciate that,
Because I'm just more self-absorbed and interested in other people.
So anyway, that was my thing. Is that my iconic look? Apparently, someone thought I was a jazz musician, and I went, "Cool, Daddy, cool, Daddy-o." So anyway, we've talked about the music, Dave, but
the important stuff.
The important stuff is now.
Like I said, I listened to one of your show's podcasts, and I thought, well, here's some things that I know you'll have an opinion on, and you and Spaceboy can talk, and I'll just chat because I don't watch these shows. But so Marvel Universe TV shows. So what do you watch, and what do you think about like the Flash, the Arrow, and Luke Cage?
Well,
discuss.
First off, I got to stop her right there. There's a difference between Marvel and the Flash, and Dave, I want you to know, I know, but bless her heart, she usually follows. She'll follow her nails, and usually when I'm watching some of these shows, she's over on her computer trying to do things for the universe. So forgive her for making that little mix-up. It's kind of like that T-shirt I've seen out there that has a picture of a Dalek on it that says, "Oh, I love that character from
R2-D2
yeah,
from Star
exactly.
Trek."
Yeah. So, but so let's start with Marvel and
Okay.
pick your brain on that. As far as
Discuss.
where do you want to begin on the Marvel universe?
You're talking about TV shows specifically?
We could do TV shows. We can do
Like
current movies.
Luke Cage and all that junk.
Okay.
Which the Netflix connection and the Disney connection to Netflix. So let's spin the wheel and go from there, Dave.
All right, so I will. I may disappoint you up front a little bit and say that I'm not nearly current on a lot of this stuff. I'm a busy guy, and I don't stay current on everything. I haven't watched any of Luke Cage yet.
What? You haven't seen Luke Cage yet?
No, I haven't watched Luke Cage yet. In fact, I just started watching Jessica Jones like 2 days ago.
Oh my goodness!
So yeah, I'm way behind on that stuff. I have watched all of what's available for Daredevil on Netflix,
right?
And I've enjoyed that a great deal. I think Daredevil is the least interesting character on the show. I like everyone around him a lot better. I might have to disappoint you here as well. I don't really watch a lot of the DC shows either. I saw the pilot for The Flash. We actually got our show actually got sent like a promo of the pilot before it aired, and so I saw that, but I have not watched any of it since then. I don't watch a lot of TV, to be honest with you, and so usually on our show when it turns to TV and stuff,
you go quiet.
I tend to.
Well, I'll throw some of my thoughts. Monica Jones.
Jessica Jones.
Did I say? Oh, I always I'm getting the Gene Hackman syndrome, and I'll have to explain that to you another time, Dave. But that show was great. It has Tennant in it. the former Doctor Who, and he does a pretty decent job in that movie or that show. So you're in for a treat for that. But that really, I have to agree with you on Daredevil to a point. Now, Daredevil, if you remember when, of all people, now the guy that he's playing Batman, why did I just brain fart here?
Affleck.
Yes, Affleck. He's playing Batman now, but when he played Daredevil in the movies. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, I thought that was like, and this new incarnation of Daredevil hasn't been half bad, but I do agree with you, the characters that surround him are quite interesting and enjoyable to watch. So, on that end, you got that going on. And then, of course, they, more recently, and as you get your time to get through some of this, you've got the Punisher that pops up. And then, of course, Luke Cage is phenomenal. It was great to watch that on Netflix. I'm a big fan of Netflix because I'm a binge watcher because of the show that we're doing tonight to try to present that out there as far as.
Well, we don't have traditional TV cable anymore.
Yeah, it's all a la carte. But I'm excited in the sense that Netflix has really kind of owned it with some of these Marvel products. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, is it safe to say that you're current on the Marvel movies?
I believe I am. I don't think I've missed any of them.
I guess what was the last one was Civil War?
Civil War, I think, yeah.
Now,
I just rewatched that myself.
What are some of your thoughts on the movies that you've seen through, Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I feel like this actually came up on our show the other day. I wonder if I'm starting to get superhero fatigue, but that's not to say that I don't enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot. I find myself less excited about news of new ones coming out. Mm-hmm. I guess I think it's just because there's a glut of it right now. But I enjoy them a lot. I thought Civil War was pretty good. I wish that I feel like the MCU's done a really good job of making very watchable movies. They've done a really good job of getting a lot of the characterizations right and that kind of thing. One thing that I feel that they've messed up on is I wish somebody needs to die. And I really thought it was going to happen in Civil War. Mm-hmm. And then it didn't.
Right. Because I think the consensus was people thought, and this is spoilers for y'all out there that are listening. If you haven't seen Civil War yet, I think a lot of people thought that that Rhodey might die, but then they also thought that Captain America was going to die, and neither one ended up in 6 Feet Under. So I have to agree with you because there was a sense of building it up that someone's going to kick the bucket, but from what I've been reading lately is that as the universe continues on, a lot of these characters that have been playing these characters for quite some time now are going to retire them and bring in new characters to, I guess, go towards the future.
Yeah, and they're already working on that, which is part of why. So again, a big spoiler alert, I suppose. But in the Civil War storyline in the comics, which I'm not an avid comic reader. I just don't have the time or the money to get into that. But I really appreciate them as a form of literature and as an art form. But in the Civil War storyline in the comics, Captain America is assassinated. Mm-hmm. He dies in that storyline. I didn't think they would do that in the movies, but I felt like somebody needed to die in order for the conflict to have the impact that it needed to have. So I wonder if I feel like Disney has done a really good job with both Marvel and with Star Wars since they've acquired them. They've done a great job. But I wonder if the Disney marketing machine is now saying, no, we can't kill off anybody because we have more stuff to merchandise based on their likeness. So just speculation on my part. But just for artistic reasons, I feel like they need to not pull some punches. Not to say that they're not enjoyable. They absolutely are. The Black Panther character in Civil War was a lot of fun to watch, and I am looking forward to that movie. So I feel like Marvel is in good hands. I don't want it to sound like I think that they're terrible, because I absolutely don't. I think they're a lot of fun. The Netflix series that I've seen so far are great, and they're in good hands.
Well, I was going to point out too. Yeah, I do understand what you're talking about, superhero fatigue, because I mean it is just you're talking just about the Marvel universe alone that's out there, and what it's presented, and we haven't even touched upon DC, which that's a whole different story altogether.
I was going to ask about one more Marvel thing.
Yeah, what was it you were going to mention?
Did he see Deadpool, and what did he think about it getting nominated for Golden Globe? It didn't win. They didn't expect it to, but
that's hilarious. And yeah, I did see it, and it was highly entertaining. And I'm glad that they were able to get a Deadpool movie done the way a Deadpool movie should be done. So kudos to them for that.
I'm sitting in my Walmart Deadpool jacket. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie, and I didn't know anything about Deadpool. I had watched somebody play the Deadpool game on YouTube, but that's about my extent of it. But it didn't matter. I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and if it had been PG or PG-13, that would have killed that movie.
Yeah, it would have.
Now, something I watched because I finally got curious enough to break down and watch it. Now, my husband here, he went to see it when it came out, because I don't necessarily care about any specific comics or DC, Marvel. There's certain things I'm interested in, but if I miss it, it's not the end of the world. But I finally kept hearing enough stink about Batman versus Superman. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch it. What's the big deal? And because I'm not really invested or a fan of either one, I enjoyed the movie, and I felt bad for Superman.
So I haven't watched this one yet, and I'm trying to think of how to say. I'm not really excited about anything DC is doing with its movie properties. I feel like they have dropped the ball drastically. I enjoyed the Dark Knight Batman series that Christopher Nolan did. I liked them a lot. But since then, I feel like DC and Warner Brothers has consistently dropped the ball with their DC properties. And it's to the point that, like, I knew I wasn't going to go see Batman vs. Superman in the theater. I will watch it. I just haven't yet. I thought that, what was their Superman movie that preceded this one, Man of Steel?
Yes.
It was okay, but it had a lot of problems. And a lot of those problems were Zack Snyder. And so when they bring him back, and they're like, we're going to do a Batman versus Superman, and it's going to be Ben Affleck, I don't like Ben Affleck. I find Ben Affleck, he's probably a really nice guy, but I find him utterly unconvincing as a person.
Affleck?
Yeah.
He's unconvincing as a human being.
I don't find him convincing as a human being.
I have to agree with you.
I don't like him at all. Like I said, I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy, so apologies to him. I don't like his acting. I never have. And so, also Batman, while I'm by and large a Marvel fan, Batman is my favorite, like, comic superhero of all time.
Doesn't have superpowers. He's just a guy
That's part
with
of
money.
Yeah, the money helps, but then, the smarts and the dedication, all that kind of, and the tech and all that kind of stuff is
I like
cool.
the tech.
Mm-hmm. And the dark imagery, of course, helps as well. So when you've got Ben Affleck, who I don't like, playing my favorite superhero in a movie that is a follow-up to a movie that had a lot of problems in and of itself, I was not excited about it. So I haven't seen it yet. I haven't heard really good things about it. I'm going to check it out just because I feel like I need to watch the train wreck happen.
Yeah, at least watch it.
Yeah, and I want to say I feel maybe not even quite that positive about Suicide Squad. That just looked like hot mess.
Yeah, I saw it, and it was not too bad. Considering that I had been binge watching Flash, The Arrow, and it kind of gave me caught me up on things of certain characters that actually, like Deathstroke, being in that movie, and so I actually enjoyed it. I think the main attraction to that movie was Harley Quinn, because here we finally get to see a live action Harley Quinn on the screen, and I don't think she disappointed a lot of the audience. But it does. I think that the DC has earned it has this black eye, if you will. They started this race in last place because Marvel came out strong, and Disney learned how to just work that Marvel machine to crank out consistent movies to keep the cinematic universe connected all together, and please the fans out there. And for the longest times, I know as a kid back in the 70s, growing up watching the Justice League, I wanted so badly to see a movie like that. And now that it's all kind of coming together, it's like, and I'm like you, I like Batman, and my second favorite would have to be Flash with Barry Allen. I would have to say the TV shows in DC have been far better than what we've seen cinematically on the screen.
I feel like one of the opportunities that they've really missed is to integrate their TV and movie universes.
Exactly.
The way that Marvel has.
Yes.
And I think that they're missing a really golden opportunity there, because people really seem to like the DC TV series. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why they're so resistant to do that. And part of the problem, you mentioned them starting the race in last place. Part of the problem is they're already trying to do Justice League. They're basically already trying to do their Avengers. Marvel had put 10 years of work into movies before they did that.
They assembled them, yeah.
You're right.
They had laid the groundwork out, and DC, in a frantic dash to get to the finish line, is not laying the groundwork that they need to. And so it just feels thrown together to me, and like it's not going to work.
Yeah, it shows.
Which is coming first, the Justice League or Wonder Woman?
I think Wonder Woman.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Now that I would be interested in seeing, just because it's about a woman, and it's a woman that kicks butt.
I can't disagree with you there. It's a woman, so I'd like to go see that.
Well, anytime it's a female-centered role that's empowered, that doesn't need a man, we need to see that.
Well, maybe some women need a man, but Anyway, so we move on.
I'm not even going to talk. I'm not even going to respond to that.
I'm out.
Dave, did you ever watch the Walking Dead TV series? Or?
Well, I didn't want to jump ahead yet. I still.
Oh, you still want to talk about Marvel stuff? Okay.
With the, I guess once you get the chance, Dave, you should definitely check out Superman versus Batman. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Okay.
But I guess the point I was going to make here is that I believe. Since the DC shows are on CW, I guess that would make them kind of in the CBS home TV market. And I bring this up because it made me think about another issue that's going on, is the Axonar versus Paramount and thing. And it kind of makes, in a way, like a little parallel there. You've got some great property that is on TV, but yet the filming aspect, they can't seem to get these two together. And you have a similar situation where, although it's, I guess, a little bit different, but you have fan-made production, and you have this disconnect between the movies and the TV CBS, which I guess when they did the split from Viacom, you had CBS took television rights, and then you had Paramount that took the motion picture rights. And I think in a lot of aspects that really messes up the whole thing, because it seems like the left hand is not talking to the right hand kind of situation. What are your thoughts on that?
So are you referring to the new Star Trek series that they've announced?
That would be Discovery that's going to be coming out.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Star Trek talk. We're going to be here for hours.
But
I'm also wearing a Star Trek shirt underneath my Deadpool jacket.
Yeah, so
place.
So you got the new show coming out and in Discovery. But the thing is that let's take it back a little bit in time when they were, the new Star Trek movie was coming out, Beyond. During that time, you had J.J. Abrams and Lynn talking about, hey, yeah, this lawsuit's going to go away, yada, yada, yada. We'll all be friends again, kumbaya. And what happens? They didn't dismiss the lawsuit. They went ahead with the lawsuit.
Okay, I hadn't heard that.
Oh, really?
Yet, actually.
Well, you're hearing it first here on Spaceboy Universe. So
I had heard that. I remember when James Lynn and J.J. Abrams were saying that they were trying to put pressure on Paramount to drop the lawsuit. I remember that happening, but I didn't realize that they had said they were going to continue with it anyway.
Yeah, the fact the lawsuit's been going on right now, and it doesn't look very good right now for the Axonar people, but there's the appeal process. But what gets me is, there's so many fan films that are out there, especially in the Trek thing. You'll find a lot of well-produced productions. It just so happens that the Axonar production is raised a lot of money and has a production value that
looked so cool. I'm kind of pissed off that they couldn't continue on and do it.
Well, that leads me to what I was about to say is that you have a great opportunity for CBS/Paramount to take, it's their intellectual property. So
you're suggesting they put Axonar under contract then?
Yes.
And actually produce the thing?
Yeah, because they're not making, the thing is that the Axonar people are not making any money, even though they've scored over $1 million.
And that's the basis for the lawsuit. Because really, historically, Paramount has done a lot of looking the other way on this stuff because they recognize, I think, this is just my guess, they recognize the value of having a thriving fan community. This is something that I deal with regularly because as Geekazoid, my work with Geekazoid, we're at Comic-Cons and science fiction conventions all the time. And so there's all of these fan-based creations, and so this kind of topic, this subject comes up frequently of, is it valuable for the property owner to allow the fan community to express itself with their IPs? And I believe that it is. I think you can look at something like Firefly, for example, which had a very short run and then went off TV, but it is still it is now one of the biggest sci-fi franchises in retrospect, because the fan community was free to kind of do what they wanted for the most part. And I think that Star Trek certainly is kind of the poster child for what a fan community can do for a property, and they always have been. So Paramount has always kind of looked the other way. It was just the amount of money that came to Axonar that put up the flag for them.
Well, I guess I was going to say is another good example of a franchise really being invested with their fan base is Star Wars.
Sure.
Lucas has been always supportive of fan-made films, even offering, in some cases, to help out with some of those fan films.
One of the ones I saw was a series of fan shorts. This was way back and they did the whole thing on the desert planet's surface, and they said, these aren't the droids we're looking for. And it was Tom Servo and Crow T. Robot from Mystery Science Theater 3000. Went, oh my God, I just had a nerdgasm.
So, Star Wars is a great example of how to do it right. But it just seems like, I guess Paramount's missing the big picture, which ties in with the new show that's coming out, which Brian Fuller was involved with but has left the project, that takes place pretty much about the same time as this Battle of Axonar. And one wonders that the only reason that if Paramount went after them and CBS is because they were planning on doing a show, or some will say that, well, they got the show based upon this time period and decided to do something all on their own. I think it just leaves a bitter taste in fans' mouth in regards to the way they're being treated. And of course, like I said, tying this back in to Flash and Arrow, and where you have some great show properties. And it's a shame that the DC universe is not they're missing the boat on making it profitable for them. And if they continue to rush, they're just dropping the ball on their property.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that kind of back to the Axanar Star Trek, that kind of discussion, I think there's a sense in the geek community, in certainly, and probably a lot of other places as well, that even if not from a legal standpoint, that to a certain extent in a not legally, but maybe conceptually, a lot of these things don't belong to the people who necessarily own the IP, like own the documents on these things. You know,
right.
I think that's been a lot of the backlash against George Lucas for a long, long time. Is, well, he's changing the things that aren't his to change. There's this sense that once they've created it and released it to the world at large, that it kind of belongs to all of us now. I think there's this kind of sense of that.
So I guess what you're pointing out is, are you talking about how you have the original version of Star Wars, and then he's come along and updated it with new, I guess because the technology has come along and updated it? Is that what you're
I'm talking about the special editions. I'm talking about the prequels to a certain extent. Basically that for a long time, Star Wars' greatest enemy was George Lucas himself. He just made a lot of wrong moves, and a lot of the fan community felt like it was a betrayal.
Is that why he handed it off, you think?
Feel, you know what, I can speculate on that, and I kind of wonder if there was, to a certain degree, a sense of relief that he could hand away that responsibility. Yeah, I've thought about that. I think that may be valid.
That's probably for the best for that franchise. I'm not as invested in Star Wars as I am Trek.
It absolutely was. That was a good move. It was the right thing to do.
All right, Dave, we'll hold right there. We're at the bottom of the hour, and you're listening to Viking Dave on the Spaceboy universe with Spaceboy and Surlana, so don't touch that dial.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Now here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
I am Spaceboy. You are
Surlana.
And we have
Still.
Red Viking Dave on the phone with us, and we are definitely into the nerd talk tonight. So
It's where we're most comfortable.
yeah, it's our niche, I guess. One of our great topics that we can just talk for hours about. So, Surlana, you were
I listened to one of your podcast shows. I think it was in December when probably just after Rogue One came out. So I was going to just say that I agreed with some of your cohorts there about what their opinions on Rogue One. And if you haven't seen it, then and you're listening in chat or something, maybe mute us for a minute, and I'll tell you when it's safe in the chat. So,
spoiler, sweetie.
yeah. So one of the things I agreed with that your guys said was, as far as Jyn Erso, the main character, they said we really didn't have time to get invested in her character. It's like, boom, here's her childhood has happened, and bang, she's in prison. And we don't know her backstory, why she was in prison. We didn't come to care about her as a person. And they said she was the most bland, boring thing on the screen. And the only character that we had really liked and invested in was the droid. The KS1, or I can't remember what the name of it is. But,
K2SO.
K2SO. I want to say KRS1, but that's an old hip-hop band, I think, retro. But I was wanting to know, you've seen Rogue One. What was your thoughts about that in particular, about the characters?
So I wasn't on the episode of the show that you're referring to. I had some stuff going on that I had to attend to. So I didn't hear a lot of what they said. I've had some of those discussions with those guys since then, so I have some ideas of what you're referring to. I didn't have quite the characterization problem. I think you could. I mean, I don't know that her characterization was any weaker than Luke Skywalker in the original. You don't really get a whole lot of in-depth background on him either. I mean, we know a little bit about him, that he has some mysterious past that's connected to the Clone Wars somehow in some vague, nebulous way that's not very well defined. He leaves home, goes on this great adventure, becomes a hero. There's not... I don't see how she's vastly different from that, personally. I didn't find the characters unrelatable in the movie. I thought the supporting cast was pretty good. I don't know. I enjoyed the movie a lot. I did too. It was the most fun I've had watching a Star Wars movie since I was a little kid.
Same. Of course, I saw it rented. I didn't get to go to see it.
And I think part of that was the anticipation of knowing that you're dealing with a storyline that's building up to something you already know.
I mean, it's like minutes behind episode 4.
Something to that effect. Within minutes of leading to the next movie. And, which I crack up because I remember seeing some Facebook post that George Lucas has signed on to do the sequel to Rogue One. And it's called New Hope because, playing with people's minds,
Don't toy with our emotions.
But I mean, I can understand where, you're coming on that one where her character was not that in depth. I mean, because we got jumped from the past to a point in time where it kicks off into...
Well, they said the given what the relationship between her and Saw Gerrera was supposed to be, it's like, oh, hey, you're there. And it was just nothing.
Right.
I guess that's somewhat relevant, I suppose. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I certainly didn't think that when I was watching it. Maybe I need to watch it again. But certainly, because I've seen it one time, and that time through, I got swept up in the thing and got carried away, and it's just a lot of fun.
I think I'm like you. Just getting caught up in that. I could easily watch this several times over,
and it really helps to explain the laughably simple plot on how to destroy the Death Star. This goes back. It's just like when you have Klingons in the original series and like, okay, now why do Klingons look like that from TNG onward? Then you have Enterprise comes along and explains it. You're like, okay, now I get it. Everything's fine now.
Which that leads to, knowing what you knew going into the movie based on the original Star Wars Episode 4, How did that movie, when you were watching it, change how you view Episode 4 now?
Or did it?
Or did it?
One of the things that I felt was really good about Rogue One is that I really felt like the whole movie was in service of A New Hope and the original trilogy as a whole. It really felt integrated with that, and it makes the state of the rebellion in A New Hope more meaningful at that point. Especially some of the pilots who they use the unused footage from A New Hope for some of the pilots in the fights at the end of Rogue One.
Yes, I heard there was a lot of
really
cheering
cool move
going on.
Yeah, that was a really cool move. I liked how they did that. But that changes those characters' perspective in A New Hope, because you realize these guys have seen this machine before. They've seen what it can do already. It's terrifying. They have already tried to fight against this thing, and I feel like it served it very well. I think that you got the that final sequence at the end where Darth Vader is cutting dudes down left and right. Really created an intimidating presence for him leading into A New Hope. I just felt like the movie as a whole just really served the greater narrative very well. I am gushing over.
You gave me a flashback to that scene because it's really intense, and it's like, holy smokes, I cannot believe. I mean, this is it goes back to the Anakin Skywalker and really just going into the dark side and being the man that he's become in this suit. And so it was like, wow, I can't believe. I mean, he just went all commando in that situation.
And your guys on the Metalcast talked about how they made Darth Vader look as poor quality as he did in the original, I guess. With they did that on purpose, and he's more. He seemed even more evil. You're like, how in the world did Luke ever see any good in him to get him to turn? This makes you wonder even about that even harder, and that's something I didn't even consider. And when we watched it, he got it, and I'm just watching it on Amazon, and he's seeing it for the second time, and we played it, and he queued up number 4 so we could watch the first 5 to 10 minutes where they board, and it's really, given that Fisher had passed, it was like a punch in the gut in a way. Yeah. Because when Rogue One ends and you hear the last line uttered, you're like, oh, right there, and then it goes into, number 4 where he's boarded and they're having to shoot down, and she's trying to get that stuff into R2. It's just, that's almost seamless right there. If you could watch them in a unending loop,
Yep.
Which Surlana brings up a interesting angle that I've been hearing a lot lately, is the use of CGI and all that to bring back actors that have passed on. In this particular movie, I'm trying to think of his name now.
Peter Cushing.
Yes, Peter Cushing. Loved him and just countless things, but
as Van Helsing.
Oh yes,
Hammer films.
Oh my goodness, yeah, those are classics. And I thought that they did a halfway decent job on that. Now, but however, it's brought up in the community where should we be doing this, bringing actors back from the dead kind of thing. And what gets me is that the technology's been around for a while, and one of the, I think, best ones that I've seen, well, there's a couple of them, Benjamin Buttons. They did a great job with Brad Pitt aging him back to young kind of situation. And then another good one is when they did Tron Legacy. And they had Clue. Yeah, and so
that was freaky.
That was really freaky, and I thought they did a great job on that. They did it even in the Marvel movies with
in the X-Men.
In X-Men.
Well, what about young Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, that's what I was.
And Civil War.
Oh yeah.
That was very brief. They kept
it
it brief.
but it looked great because it reminded me back in his days of in that show. What was he in? Was he in Weird Science? No,
he was in Weird Science as a bully.
That's right. And so going
snarky. Wise,
so it kind of brings up the topic of because actors, I guess, are going to come out and say, "Hey, I'm a perfectly good actor that can be used right now. Why are you using these people that have passed on? The torch has been passed to me to do the acting. Why aren't you giving me a chance?" And I argue in the fact that if it brings a good performance and it's convincing as it was in Star Wars Rogue One, why not do that? Your thoughts?
I'm not really sure what I think about this. I have seen some questions as to the ethics of it. Is it ethical to portray a human who can no longer have any input on the performance or the use of their likeness or something like that? Is it ethical? And I'm not really sure how I feel about that aspect of it. As far as the execution of it, though, I would say that it was exciting to see that character in Rogue One. I felt like they were a little bit too proud of their special effect and showed it off too much, and it kind of broke the illusion.
That's what your guy said too.
Yeah, I know that's been a common complaint. I feel like they got too close up and spent too much time close up on the face, and you lost some of the effect. I think if they'd stayed with wide angle shots and reflections and that kind of thing, it would have worked a lot better consistently. So as far as the execution, I enjoyed it. You were talking about like youthing Jeff Bridges and Tron and in some of the Marvel movies and that kind of stuff. I feel like that certainly sidesteps the ethical question because you still have the original actors who are involved with it. But as an effect, I think it's okay used sparingly.
Like they did for Carrie.
Right, like they did for Carrie, that was okay. And I think they've come out and said that they are not going to CG her.
No, they're not going to do it, which I think is a good decision.
I think that's a good move as well. So I guess if I think that's a good move, that says something about maybe something that I think about the ethics of it. I don't know. It's something I haven't really figured out yet.
Did you see that they buried her in a Prozac urn?
Yeah.
And they said she would have loved it. She would have absolutely loved it. She'd say it's very fitting.
That's funny.
But yeah. So you say you don't have a lot of time to watch TV, but even if you've not seen this, I can still pull some content from you on this. Have you happened to catch any of Westworld?
I have not seen any of it.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the premise of it, but I
don't watch it unless you can devote some time because you'll get sucked in. Because I didn't care about it. I didn't necessarily want to see it, but I got nagged into it by my friend. And it's a total, what? It's kind of like watching Mr. Robot in a way, which that show made me feel so stupid as a human being. Like, I don't have any intelligence because I don't know what's going on. There's, just briefly, what happens to Carrie's French Bulldog, it's going to her daughter, Billy. And Billy already has a French Bulldog that they're friends with. So, okay, this for somebody in chat there. But, so I was going to say, what do you have an opinion on the take on the future of artificial intelligence? Do you think they will become sentient and smart and try to eliminate us?
Elon Musk thinks it's a valid concern.
Skynet.
So there's been so much good science fiction based on this idea. And of course, you have people who are actively working towards a truly Turing test worthy machine, which I think is fascinating. And deals with all those classic questions about what constitutes consciousness and all of that kind of thing. I think that the technology is going that way. I do. Whether there will be success in creating a truly self-aware machine, I don't know. It seems like a very high hurdle. And a lot of that is because we don't understand what consciousness is in biology. And so I almost wonder if we were able to replicate it in machines, if we would almost do so by accident. It would be by not by accident but by luck. we got lucky and it seems to happen. But then how would we recognize it? I don't even know. I don't know how we would recognize it. I don't know if it's possible. But but that people are trying, to me, is fascinating.
Yeah, they're trying it this year. We read about some predictions for 2017 when we did our New Year's show, and they're really going to go after it this year and looking into some AI, but they said there'll be very few innovators, but the one that will make it it'll be, whatever happens, it'll probably be very good. But that's kind of why I was asking about Westworld, because they kind of explore those themes of, what it means to, kind of reminds you of TNG with Data, but they live, they kind of live their life in a loop because, they're androids and they're supposed to, they get reprogrammed and brought in and fixed and put back into the little western town. But then, something happens, they get deliberately reprogrammed on the sly and there's a glitch, and then they start to become aware, and then it starts to become who's real, who's human, who isn't. And it's sort of like a mystery and a philosophical thing as well. And you get to wonder, well, if they're aware of their own environment, do they now have rights to go where they want to go and live how they want to live?
Right.
So that's what intrigues me about that show. And of course, if there's a season 2, they're going to make us wait till 2018, which is not right. But Anthony Hopkins is in it, so
I like him a lot. Yeah.
He gives a good performance, and I recommend it if you do get a chance to watch it. It's just, only one season out, but I don't know if you saw, was it in 2016 that Microsoft did this social media AI experiment
I was
on Twitter.
about to ask if you had heard about that as well.
What were your thoughts?
Yeah, because of they let the AI loose on Twitter for like 24 hours.
It was just a disaster.
And it turned into because it was supposed to be a teenage girl, I think, on Twitter, and within 24 hours she had become a misogynist Nazi.
Yeah, just like people on the internet. She was learning from maybe not the best of the best people, but that's exactly how people are on the internet. So she wasn't out of place.
Was the robot
It's certainly
not? I mean, the AI kind of naive in the sense, and people just took advantage of that, or
Could be.
essentially
She's learning.
the AI was intended to go in with a very, I guess, basic personality, and was supposed to learn social interaction and what a teenage girl of her supposed age would be like, and she was supposed to learn it on the internet. And within 24 hours, the internet had completely destroyed this project.
They broke her.
And it's kind of horrible, but it's an interesting mirror to hold up.
Yeah, what did they think was going to happen? It's the general populace.
Well, and I don't even think that's fair. I don't think it is the general populace. I think that you have a vocal minority group here who did this intentionally. I'll put it that way. I think that there were people who intentionally interacted with the AI in order to break it, because those are your trolls. They're the ones that show up in every comment section and every message board, and they're there just to cause problems. And they seem, I think that because of their vocal nature, they seem more prevalent than they probably are in real life. So I don't think it's fair to say that that is an accurate representation of the internet as a whole. But it does certainly shed some light on some concerning parts of the internet. And there are certainly wider social ramifications of that we're dealing with now as well. So
I just think it's funny. I mean, I don't really care
They're-
what they learned from it. It's just like, do it again.
It is funny. It is funny. I agree. I agree that it's funny, and I probably find it more funny than I find it concerning. But it certainly does raise concerns. I would say that. But I did think it was funny that that it happened. But yeah, I hope they try it again. I hope that they go back to the drawing board and start over, because I'd like to see the project be successful. I think that would be interesting. Mm-hmm. It's not quite as newsworthy. I think it's a good news story to say that Microsoft releases artificial intelligence on the internet, and within 24 hours it becomes a racist. You know, that's
great headlines.
I know.
I think they took her down because she blue screened. But yeah, so. But I guess ultimately, you know, I really think that within our lifetime, Dave, we're going to see AI come to fruition in some way.
They predicted that in 2016, VR stuff would take off, and I think we have seen that. Of course, for those few that could afford it, and I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to continue to be developed.
I'm not sure what I think about VR. I haven't really done much with it.
Me either. We get sick playing first person's perspective shooter video games, so I have no business touching VR.
Yeah, it makes me mad that I can't play some games that you know. I've been an avid gamer.
Motion sickness, you know.
Yeah, you know, I've been playing Pong. That tells you how old I am.
Doom and Wolfenstein for me.
But as time went on, you know, when I finally get to games like Doom, and you know, it just totally I bite my lunch on that.
I played them. I would play them, and I would just get so sick. I'd have to go away for a while and get headachy, nauseated. Then I'd come right back, start all over again.
Well, I don't get motion sickness from video games and first person shooters. I'm a big first person shooter player. I'm Doom, as you mentioned, is my all time favorite first person shooter. Mm-hmm. I regularly play through it again.
Have you done the newer one or?
Yeah, I'm playing through it on Nightmare right now.
Oh
actually.
Man, I wanna get it so bad. It's already come down a little bit on Steam, but
it's really good.
I watched a Let's Play with Markiplier because he had a genuine love for it too. So I'm like, it looks. For what it is, you know, Doom is not supposed to make sense. It really doesn't have a story. You just go through and shoot. It's a shoot 'em up. It's just for pure gore and violence, and boy, did it live up to it.
Yes, they got it right.
And it's got the cool little Easter eggs back to the original Doom, and just.
You got to find secrets and find weapons and kill everything. Yeah, it's great. And
the ending, the final boss, I kept wondering through the whole thing when I watched it the first time, like, where is it? Where is it? I can't believe they left it. Like, oh, there it is. That was really interesting how they had that show up.
All right, y'all. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and we're just having a love fest over games that make us sick. And but other than that, you're listening to the Spaceboy universe, and I'm Spaceboy and
Surlana.
And we have Red Viking Dave on tonight, who's just a wealth of just different things, and we've really enjoyed having you on, Dave.
Treasure.
So, yes, Houston treasure indeed. So let's take this break, and we'll talk a little bit more with Dave. And let's see here. How about a little bit of unique technique?
are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Now here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Anyway, that's Unique Technique. It's off my latest album, Unique Technique. You can get that album for just a mere $10. That's 17 tracks of listening pleasure. Go to spaceboymusic.com, and that is where you can check it out and get your copy. So we're back, and we're talking with Red Viking Dave. And as always, during the break, we tend to go off onto a tangent and talk.
And he's a Steam gamer, too.
Yes, he is. Dave, now we've opened up the can of games.
Okay.
So, tell us your angle. I mean, it sounds like the whole night you've been saying, well, I'm just so busy. I just don't have time to watch movies and TVs. And please tell me you have a little time to play some games.
Some. I mentioned during the break that I have this massive Steam library of, like, I was actually pulling it up to see what the number was, but 277 games on Steam right now, and I've probably played 15 of them. It's so easy to collect games on Steam, and I have done so.
Because they have ridiculous sales. Like, hey, here's a game for 50 cents. Like, okay.
Yep. And that's why my library is the size it is. And I also buy everything in bundle for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like, I very rarely buy one game at a time. I'm usually buying bundles of things. So I play some games. I go through stints where I'm able to play more than others. And I kind of play on everything. I have a PS4 that I play on. That's what I played the new Doom on.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great. I also stick with retro gaming and stuff. I still play some of my old NES and Genesis stuff from time to time as well.
Cool. You still have your PS2 that he occasionally pulls out.
I have all of every console I've ever owned. I still have one. So
I was going to ask you, if you're playing the Steam, are you still playing console-based
yes.
Games? So
because I don't have a PC that's up to spec for a lot of the high-end stuff.
Right.
And I was gifted a PS4, so that takes care of that problem.
Yeah, because at the beginning of our program, Solano and I were talking about how we've definitely gone pro Steam in a lot of our games. The last major system that we owned, or still own, is
just a Wii.
A Wii, and then like we also have DSs that we purchased from Nintendo, but.
First generation, or second generation DS.
Yeah, so we didn't upgrade to the 3DS. And I think it was just somewhere in, I guess at that point.
You know what it was? We abandoned our DS and we've got our first iPhone.
Yes, and that's when we started doing iPhone games. And, because it was just so convenient to, pop out a game at the doctor's office, waiting 20 minutes for him to come in there and take a look at us to just say, okay, take this and call me in the morning kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I guess we went from the iPhone, and I guess Surlana.
I started watching Let's Play gamers because there's a faction of them that really amuse me. I know I'm a 44-year-old woman. What am I doing watching these silly kids do this? But they're amusing, and I was like, oh, what's Steam? So I finally checked it out and went, oh, my gosh, the PC gaming is back. And I'm like, thank God, so I can finally play games again, because I would just prefer to do it on my PC if I can. So
that kind of led us into playing games with our desktops and our laptops, and it's been very enjoyable playing Steam games, and it's fairly easy. You don't have to go to GameStop. You just log on, and like GameStop, there's always games that are on crazy sales. Mm-hmm. And so it makes it very convenient.
They seduce you with that.
Exactly, because like I was saying earlier, this Christmas time, this past holiday, I ended up buying like 5 or 6 games, and they were between 49 cents to I think $4.99 was the most I paid for one game. And
you're like, well, I'd be stupid not to buy that.
Exactly.
Let it sit on my computer for 8 years.
Why am I going to let it's a good deal. Why am I passing this up? So, but it's just been hard for me to break down and buy a new console like a PS4.
You can't decide what are the games you're dying to play that's exclusive to that console.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he being more of an old school, so the Nintendo appealed to him because you've still got Super Mario Brothers coming out and things like that, and the Donkey Kong stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's more his.
Well, I'm a retro gamer. I grew up, that '80s when early 80s when arcade was king. You know, you had Donkey Kong, you had Pac-Man, you had Space Invaders. I mean, you know, it's funny because...
we lived in a great time.
When you went to Chuck E. Cheese during that time, it was nothing like it is now, where it's definitely more of a kid's zone. Whereas back in my day, it was like an arcade, and you had all these, you know, stand-up arcade games.
My Chuck E. Cheese was like a wonderland back home in Shreveport. It was, it used to be, I think, a skating rink or something, but it had just arcade and play. It was just like you would beg your parents to take you. You know?
So, yeah, I guess talking about the different consoles and everything, so tell us your feelings about, you know, like the Switch that's coming out and
little retro mini Nintendo.
And then also, you know, if you want to elaborate about the Nintendo Classic that came out, your thoughts would
that
be...
That nobody can get.
Yeah, that nobody can get.
Yeah, I was in Target about, I don't know, a week and a half before Christmas, and I wasn't looking for one myself, but while I was in the electronics section, I heard maybe 4 or 5 different people ask the employees if they had any of those left, and they were like, absolutely everybody is sold out of them. We can't keep them. And to me, I don't quite get it. I mean, I do. I understand why it's appealing, but it's not for me. And part of that, I think, is because I still have my functioning NES, and I have other means of playing NES games. And if I'm going, and so the NES Classic has 30 preloaded NES games on it. Mm-hmm. The end of story. For me, I'm like, if I'm going to spend $60 on an NES Classic, instead I could spend that same money and build an emulator box out of a Raspberry Pi and put everything on it.
Thank you
NES,
for validating what I said earlier in this program. I could not agree with you more.
And that's just kind of me. That's my approach to it. I think I've got kind of that maker mindset, I guess, and so that's immediately where my head goes. Is, well, why don't I just build my own and make it better? And so that's what I would be inclined to do. So that's why I say it doesn't appeal to me. I do understand the appeal of it in
Nostalgia
general.
for people, you know,
sure,
older than me. But you're going to have to learn how to build that. That's what he wants to do. So
I mean, it's not rocket science.
It's not hard.
it's really.
But it has to go into that project box you get from there's a Radio Shack.
There's a kit online for, I guess it's a Raspberry 3 that I've been looking at, and the kit is very simple, put together, container, everything you need.
Breadboard and all the electronics.
A kit, it's everything you need to make what you need to make.
Well, it has to go in one of those project boxes so you can make it look like the internet.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
From IT Crowd.
The IT Crowd, yeah.
Apparently Dave knows what the IT Crowd is.
Well, of course Dave knows.
I love that show.
Dave's one of us.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I was introduced to it, I used to work in IT, actually. Somebody had sent me a clip of the show, and it's the scene where they're giving Jen the internet. And I was like, all right, I'm going to have to watch this show.
He goes, has it been fully demagnetized by Stephen Hawking himself? The elders of the internet said you could do it. And that's the whole speech she gives. He goes, if anything were to happen to this, and the next thing you know, it's broken into a million pieces, and people are screaming and chaos. And they finally just do a fist bump, like, well, we got what we wanted.
Yep.
I even made a T-shirt of that moment where they're doing the fist bump. They're sitting there. I have that on my Redbubble site you can buy.
Excellent.
It's called Teamwork, like those motivational posters.
Mm-hmm.
I had to commemorate that moment.
Where do we go? Oh, yeah, we were talking. Yeah, that was the internet as the emulator box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I was wondering how we got there.
The thing is about the universe. as I refer to it, is that we could start one spot and end up through a wormhole on the other side of the galaxy, and then where were we?
The universe is funny that way.
It usually ends up back to Star Trek. No matter how far away we get, it'll come back.
Definitely to you, because you tend to pick out that was in reference to Data when he was being turned off by Riker to make a point.
A lot of storylines have already been covered in different Trek TV series. You'll find.
I look at it more in the aspect, the older I get, the stories get recycled kind of thing, which brings up reboots. What are your thoughts about movies that are rebooted, so to speak, quote unquote?
He's talking about Ghostbusters.
Well, that's one good example of it. Okay.
He's trying not to.
I don't have a problem with the overall with the new Ghostbusters movie that came out. I think there's a lot of people that felt a little bent out of shape about it. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, Dave.
That one in particular, I haven't seen yet, and I don't have anything against it. I just haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. I like everybody that's in it pretty well.
It's perfectly okay movie.
For the most part. I think that I don't hate remakes in general. As a concept, as an idea of, we're going to redo this thing, because even though we seem to have a glut of it right now, this has always happened. You can look back through not just movie history, but all kinds of media that has been made and remade through the centuries. As long as people have been creating things, they've been stealing things and trying to do them over again. It's not a new idea, so I don't hate the concept of it. I understand the reaction against why are there so many of them right now. I also understand why production companies are drawn to that, because half their marketing is already done for them. They don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. You're going to go see it because you remember what this was. You're already a fan. So
built-in audience.
Yeah, you have a built-in audience. So, and I think part of that, I think a lot of the negative reaction that a lot of these things get, unless they're done really, really well, which does happen, a lot of the reaction becomes negative, and I feel like a lot of times people are judging these things a little bit too harshly. Mm-hmm. That nostalgia can do funny things to your perception of the things that you love, and the thing that you love is probably not objectively as good as you think it is kind of how I look at it. That you found it at the right time in your life when you were a kid, or something else where it was new and exciting, and no version of it that they could redo is going to make you feel those feelings again. And so then you get mad about that.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to mention a particular movie, and okay. Dave, please don't be hard.
I'm thinking about something completely different.
As a kid, there's this movie that I was 10 years old, enjoyed it immensely, and it was the movie Xanadu. And I know this is out of left field.
There's been no remakes of Xanadu.
No, but I'm sure Dave's bringing a point up that as a kid, I thought that was just the greatest thing next to sliced cheese.
Of all the things you were going to say, I did not predict that.
It had Olivia Newton-John in it. She'd just come off the Grease movie. And I know Dave has got this face like, really? He's gone to Xanadu? It's hard for me as an adult now to watch that movie because... because I'm looking at it as adult eyes now. It's like, what was I thinking as a kid? But I think
we didn't know any better because it wasn't anything better yet.
Well, I still like
the music.
The music's still good. So
I ever heard.
I can go with the music on that. But the thing is that I guess tying it back into the reboot is that it's something we'll watch, a movie that might have come out as a kid, and then it was the right movie at the right time for us at that event. However, when you bring that forward in time, it just doesn't jive with today's standard.
I could say something, but I'm not going to say something.
Well, now you got me curious.
And it's also, I think, the individual's perspective and the way that they experience it is different. You can't capture that same feeling, and it has nothing to do with whether or not the movie successfully grabs the feeling or not. It has to do with the audience. I think it's very heavily on the audience. That can you get yourself in the right mindset? I think that to enjoy a lot of the reboots, you kind of have to go with it. You let go of some of your criticism and realize that the thing that you loved when you were a kid probably really isn't as good as you think it is.
Because you were a kid, yeah.
And if you were to see it for the first time now, you wouldn't think it was the great thing that
you're a different
has all this
person
meaning
almost.
And you're a different person. And part of kind of a parallel of that, I think, is because I kind of see it as this cliche generational thing where, well, things were better back in my day. Well, things were better back in my, but everyone thinks that, and everyone's wrong. and what happens is, look at music, for example. People regularly say, oh, well, music today sucks. Back when I was a kid, we had all of this great music. What happened to good music? It's like, no,
you got older.
Still,
it happens to every single person. It even happened to me.
And I think that, and I'm trying to live this experiment out. I'll let you know how it goes. But my idea is, and I think there's some validity to this, that it's not that the quality of the media decreases, it's that your memory is faulty. And I'm not saying that what you liked wasn't good. It's that you only remember the stuff that you liked. There has always been tons of garbage music and garbage movies and garbage books, but you don't remember them because they're forgettable.
Right.
You only remember the stuff that stood out. That has always been true and will always be true. And I think if you can view media in that way and think of it like that 90% of everything is crap, then you can come back and find something new and exciting that's happening that you can enjoy just for what it is.
I can offer perspective on this, but absolutely no one will understand what I'm talking about. Plus, I'm not allowed to speak this person's name.
Jane Austen is what she's referring
Jane Austen.
to. And she likes to throw that up. But hey, I thought her book on Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies was really good.
Whatever. It's talking about, okay, you found something you loved and you were younger, and you come back and you read it when you're older. The book is still great. This book is still amazing. Then you find 80 billion adaptations, which are, you get the first one right, and then everything else is, I guess, is a remake.
Well, you enjoyed Clueless.
Yeah, that's an adaptation. And then the 1997 BBC America version of Pride and Prejudice, that's the ultimate version. And then you get a whole new take on it with a YouTube-produced series called the Lizzie Bennet Diaries that takes place now, and entirely in vlog format, but it's the plot of Pride and Prejudice, and that gives it a whole new, and I enjoyed every single one of those iterations completely, and I embraced it. So that's another perspective in remakes.
I think at the end of the day, from my perspective, is, I've said this
source
before,
material is so good
that the younger generation has come along and they want a chance, an opportunity to retell the stories
in the way they understand.
And I'm good with that. I mean, it's on some aspects it's taken me a while to come to that conclusion, but I don't have any bad feelings about the Ghostbusters movie that came out.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was enjoyable. I like the actresses that are in there. And, at the end of the day, if a movie comes out, my philosophy...
What's the guy that played Thor?
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, he made that movie.
But anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is that, I don't have to see the new Point Break movie if I don't want to.
I don't want to.
And, if it's a bad movie, I won't accuse it of being a bad movie because it's a reboot. I'll accuse it of just being a bad movie because it was a bad movie. Mm-hmm. So, at the end of the day, those are my thoughts. And so, I'm great. I mean, because I think in some aspects, they get a chance to see the retelling of a story that I've enjoyed before and it gives me a chance to see it in a different way. Makes it enjoyable in that aspect. Like, hey, I didn't think that going this direction instead of being an all female cast.
And they turned stereotypes on their head. They treated Chris Hemsworth like dumb eye candy, and they just let him stay there because he was beautiful to look at. And I'm like, awesome. They just treated him as a piece of meat, and it was great.
So there you go.
That's what I liked about it.
So, Dave, as we get closer to, I guess, at the bottom of the hour to, give you your time is up kind of moment, we want to give you a chance to give our audience directions on how can they find you, one, on the web, and two, through social media. They are great about following up with their social media. So, in their media.
Awesome.
Yeah, so lay the law down and tell the Space Cadets where they can find you.
Okay, you can find my podcast, Metal Geeks, at metalgeeks.net. There you will also find MSRcast, which is our partner podcast. Basically, it's the same folks, and but that one's an all music, all heavy metal podcast. And you can find Metal Geeks on social media at Metal Geeks. Follow us and see what we're up to. You can find me at Red Viking Dave on Instagram and Twitter. Mostly see what art I'm making and what music I'm listening to at the time. It's mostly what I post. And you can also find my Geekazoid project at ilovegeekazoid.com. We'll link you to the store. And you can find us on all the social media at I Love Geekazoid. There are more projects coming, so stay tuned.
Well, you definitely, we find you very interesting, and we appreciate you coming on the show. It makes me wonder, do you plan on attending Comic Palooza this year, or any of the other cons?
Yeah, so we are, Geekazoid is regularly part of the con scene, so if any of your listeners have been to most of any of the conventions in the Houston area for sure, and some farther out, you've probably seen us. We are actually kind of ramping down our con presence for the coming year because there is a major project coming up for us. My wife, who is also my business partner, she has gotten her artwork accepted to the Renaissance festivals, both the one near Austin and the one near here. Mm-hmm. And so we're doing both of them this year.
Wow, congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah, and so we are, that's going to take up a lot of our time and a lot of our weekends this year. So our con presence will be down this year, but we are still going to do a few. Comic Palooza will definitely be at. That's certainly one of our favorites, and we try not to miss it if we can help it.
Well, we're definitely going to be there ourselves, and so just look for us roaming around with the camera. And
so I haven't heard anything yet officially on it yet, but there is a podcasting panel track at Comic Palooza, which if it's happening again, I'll be a part of it.
Oh, cool, cool. So, Surlana, do you have anything else you want to wrap it up with, Dave? And you're doing that scientist thing with the hands again.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, the scientist meme. I can't think of his name. Tyson.
Oh, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, there we go. But Dave, we appreciate you coming on the universe, and you have an open door with us. If you do have something coming up, or you want to give us the word, we'll get it out for you, and we would love to do that for you.
Awesome, appreciate that.
Well, thanks for taking the time, and I hope you have a good evening then.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Bye-bye. All right. That was Red Viking Dave. And, we're, I guess, it was a pleasure to have him on, talk some geek
it's so refreshing to talk to someone who speaks our language,
And we didn't even get to Walking Dead, so how about that? You didn't get a chance to follow your nails or anything.
Well, yeah, I was just wondering, just out of curiosity, why some people are giving up on the show. Some fans. I don't care. I don't watch it, but
briefly is basically this season has been kind of a downer. You have a crew that's been together. Now it's gotten busted up. But at the end of this season, everybody's kind of gluing back together, and it's being put out there that this second part of the season is going to be in your face. It's going to be what everybody's been waiting for.
So they'll be sorry they missed it, you think?
I think to some degree. I mean, I feel like if you've watched it so far, why are you going to abandon it now? It's still some good storylines to come that. Based on the graphic novel, and although Kirkman has said he's not necessarily following it, but he still kind of is. This next season's going to be good, and we just have to wait and see. It's been kind of this thing where the crew, you get a crew goes in, something major happens, it disbands or breaks everybody up, and then they kind of come back together, and then they fight this foe, and that is pretty much the cycle of The Walking Dead. So they're in that point where they're all coming back together to fight Negan, and we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out. So, but there it is in a nutshell. So, Surlana, we were talking a little bit earlier during the banter how we were having a little technical difficulties with the first
phone.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to play that right now, and when we come back, we still got a few more minutes to talk in the Spaceboy universe. Maybe we'll open up the phone calls and see if we can get somebody if we want to call in after this thing I'm about to play. Well, you're looking at me crazy.
No.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Okay. You sure about that?
No.
You all right?
Yeah, there's just distractions going on.
I hear.
Yeah.
So, other than that, you're listening to the Spaceboy Universe, and here's our report from week 2 of First.
Right out of the fog, right out of the mist, rise the robots, they do exist.
Founded in 1989 and based in Manchester, New Hampshire, First is a 501 not-for-profit public charity designed to inspire young people's interest in participating in science and technology and motivate them to pursue education and career opportunities in the STEM field. Join Spaceboy Universe as we cover the 2017 First Robotics Competition.
Hey, Surlana.
Hey there.
It looks like we're into week 2 of First.
Yeah,
and
competition season.
Yes, it's pretty exciting. And on the phone, we have Andrew and Keegan. How are y'all today?
We're doing really good right now.
We're doing great.
That's awesome to hear. So, to catch us up to speed, tell us a little bit about last week, and then, of course, give us the top of the news of what's going on this week. Either one of y'all start.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Well, last week, a lot of what we did was we were sitting in a classroom and we were strategizing about the game that we learned about this year. And we also went to a Rockets game, which was a lot of fun.
That
we drove our robot around last week. A lot of strategizing. And then to recap this week, after we strategized and figured out what exactly we want to do with the game this year, we decided that we need to start prototyping the things to make the things for the machines. Yeah, to prototype. We decided we started the prototype. So today's Saturday, and we've been working on a lot of prototypes.
For social media, we've been trying to set up a good base and good start for Instagram and Twitter. We've been updating our website so that we can post pictures weekly. And we're hopefully going to be starting up our YouTube channel soon.
Very cool, very cool. So, Andrew, starting with you first, is this your first year in this event?
No, sir. This is definitely my third year. I've been in it for 2 years now.
And what about you, Keegan? Is this your first year?
This is my second year.
Oh,
awesome.
So, y'all, I guess you all could say both of y'all are kind of veterans already at this.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
And what attracted y'all to, First in the first place?
My English teacher knew about this team needing new people, and she knew that I was interested in doing advertising, and so she got me in touch here so that I could work with the imagery and scouting.
Go ahead, Andrew.
We live in Baytown, Texas, and we in the elementary they have a program called FLL, which is like the miniature of what we do. And I got involved in FLL by hearing it over the announcements, and then I just stuck with it since then, and I've just enjoyed it a ton. First leg of the league is FLL. FLL's first leg.
And what do y'all think about this year's competition? I saw that it was steampunk themed.
Yes, ma'am. We are stoked. It is. Oh, it's not steampunk. It's Steamworks.
Oh, Steamworks. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Oh no. We are stoked. The game looks super exciting this year. If you haven't checked it out, you can search it online. Just type in 2017 FRC Steamworks, and you can click on the game animation, and it's just an awesome, great giant game.
But we're super excited about the steampunk feel of it. From an imagery perspective, it's going to be a ton of fun.
It's a very colorful year.
Now, how many are in your team that you have this year?
24.
And I think that the video does elaborate a little bit about that, doesn't it?
Oh, is it the game animation?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, the game animation just explains what the game is that we're competing in this year, but our team numbers are set in stone, are set by us. So we have 24 teammates, while other teams have like 120, and then some will have only 2 people.
Oh wow! I thought there was kind of like a kind of a limit, but I could see if you had a smaller school, you're probably limited with the resources. You want to give everybody an opportunity to participate, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We compete in a school district. You can also compete outside of school district if you want to be individual, and they've got NASA teams. NASA has their own team, and during the game, in fact, there are tons of people per team, but only 3 drive per team, and then there's 3 robots per alliance, and every game has 2 alliances. So we have 6 robot fields, and we complete the missions that we've been given.
So remind our audience when the big competition is.
We're going to be going to 2 regionals, hopefully 3. Our 2 regionals will be Lone Star Central and Lone Star North, and that will be in the Woodlands and in Houston. And then we will hopefully be going to Alamo.
Oh, wow.
And, both of those will be in March. And if you want to know specific dates, you can check us out on our social media pages, and we'll be keeping things updated and when competitions are. There's also a really handy website called thebluealliance.com, and it's got all of the competitions, because they're spread out among the 6-week period all around the world. Even they're in Iran, and then in America, and they're just everywhere.
And there's also live stream of all the matches, and we'll make sure to post when our matches are so that anyone around the world can watch.
Speaking of your team, can you remind our audience what the name of your team is?
1255 Blarglefish.
Cool. And just before we wrap all this up, what are your hopes and dreams coming out of this? Do you think you'll pursue something in the engineering or science or technology field? Let's start with Keegan first.
While I don't want to be an engineer, I want to go into advertising. This has really helped me for that, because I'm part of the imagery, which means I'm like putting the word out for our team. And I'm hoping to kind of represent our team this year. First has really helped me with that.
And what about you, Andrew?
Well, I'm planning on going and being the park ranger, which is very strange when it comes to the aspect that I'm in first. It has helped me change my career decisions. I've learned that I love doing the building of things too much, and that engineering was what I originally wanted to do. But then I learned that engineering is more of the leader and they plan everything out, but this has showed me that I just love the building part. So I rethought what I wanted to do, and I knew that I loved being outside, so I looked into it, and I want to be a park ranger.
Well, that sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. It seems like even though you're learning certain skills one way, it's really ultimately teaching you how to think outside the box. I can imagine, whether it be multimedia or being in the middle of a forest, you'd want to have some skills that would make you think how to, put things together. And back in my day, it was like you'd watch the A-Team would put together things out of nothing, and it was quite interesting how they did that. But I can imagine you're learning skills and communications that will take you through the rest of your life, and it's pretty exciting stuff.
Wait, so what's the A-Team?
Yes. Well,
showing our age.
Well, grandson, I will tell you someday about that. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time. And before we go, just could you mention once again your social media so that our audience can reach out and see what's going on?
Our Twitter and Instagram is 1255 Blarglefish. Our website is www.1255blarglefish.weebly.com.
And then we've also opened up this new Weebly account. Opened up a new Kickstarter account because we're trying to fundraise, because this is, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a very expensive thing because we use some really big machinery and robots, and we're trying to raise money, and we're starting a Kickstarter. And if you're interested in helping us out, we'll be keeping it posted on our Instagram and on our Twitter, and so
it'll kick off Tuesday, and so if ever anyone's watching our Twitter, we'll make sure to make announcements whenever that goes live.
Okay, great.
Well, we thank you for joining us this week, and we're probably going to be heading out there next Saturday to take some video and see firsthand what y'all are doing to show our audience. So we'll look forward to seeing you. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all, and stay tuned for weekly updates about FIRST here on Spaceboy Universe. So that is week 2 of the FIRST, leading up to, I called it a competition. It really isn't a competition. I think Jim mentioned that it wasn't necessarily a competition in the sense of how much it is a learning experience for these young men and women. And I don't know about you, Surlana, but it made me feel really old every time they said, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And it really puts it in perspective that these young men and women have their act together and really are focused, and it teaches them skills that, quite frankly, I think in most universities don't teach these skills to kids these days where they need to be. And so it's good to see young men and women learning these skills that will take them beyond their educational needs and into the world.
Something would have been beneficial for me early on, but, I am what I am now.
So, all right, Popeye. We have a guest on the phone. How are you, Bev?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I am spamtastic.
I should stop eating this cookie. You probably hear it.
Yeah, she's made cookies. We have this thing where she's been making some treats before shows that we do,
Ooh,
so yeah.
It helps us get through.
Yeah, just something to nibble on. But can't really do any chips or anything.
What kind of cookies?
Just,
Toll House,
ready to
chip.
bake,
Ah, those are good.
Mm-hmm.
You break it off, bake it. Or you eat it before you bake it.
There you go.
So what's on your mind, Bev? Welcome to the universe.
Oh, thank you. The thing that really gets my goat is when you were talking about remake of movies.
Yeah.
Why they have to take a good movie and remake it, and it's not the same.
What, do you have a particular movie in mind, Bev?
That upset you?
just any movie, really. I mean, they like, okay, Magnificent Seven.
Yes, and by the way, I've seen the remake. Yes, which you can't. How can you remake a movie that had Yul Brynner in it?
Yeah, exactly.
Westworld.
Yeah, see how it all comes together. But I guess it's like I was saying earlier, Bev, is that we can either be unaccepting of a reboot or reimagining or however you want to call it. It's through centuries. Stories have been handed down through the generations. Retold, and maybe a new generation puts a spin on it. So I guess I really, as many movies as I've seen in my lifetime, especially working at Blockbuster Video, I think I'm a little bit more forgiving in the sense of some reboots. Although I have been in a position where I've felt like, Hollywood, could you get a little bit more creative? Do you have to fall back on a reboot? And do we really need, like, I think it was, when I was talking about this, it was the Beverly Hillbillies. Really, do we really need that?
Are they completely out of original ideas?
Exactly. And so...
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's like, it's refreshing to see, because like I said, let's use the Magnificent Seven. I enjoyed that because it had Chris Pratt in it, had Denzel Washington in it.
Oh, that was recent.
Ethan Hawke. I purchased it. It's on our Amazon library. Yeah, I figured you would.
Thank you.
And another reason why I purchased it, just, as I'm going off on a tangent here, is that, as we were talking to Red Viking Dave, about all the Marvel movies and saturations. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing this for.
Sorry, things you can't see.
I'm giving her fingers, and it's not...
not the bad fingers.
Yeah,
He's giving me a death metal salute.
Yeah. So I found it refreshing to watch a Western. And I do like Westerns. And this
a modern Western?
Well, I guess you could say it's modern.
Modern-produced Western.
Yeah, exactly. Not like...
Yeah.
But, so I guess, once again, I understand where you're coming from. But on the flip side for me, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to argue about it. Because it's like this. Now that I'm an adult, I have money. And if I don't want to see it, I don't pay for it. And that's going to hit that's going to hit
grumpy old man.
Get off my lawn, you crazy kids! And so that's how I look at it now. Hey, great, go make that movie, but you're not getting my money.
Well, there is one movie that if they ever made a remake of, I would be very, very upset.
No.
And I don't see how they could ever make a remake of it. It's a Wonderful Life.
I think they have done it. They have, yeah. There's
they?
a version with when she was a little girl. You remember Matilda? The girl that played Matilda in that movie? She's in a version of it.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, really?
I think so. No, wait. No. I'm talking about... Sorry, Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah, Miracle on 34th Street.
Okay.
No, they have not remade the Jimmy classic.
I'm weirdly proud of the fact that I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, and I have no intention of ever seeing it.
Well, that's because you're mad at Potter. He's just an evil man. But yeah.
Are you having a stroke?
I was doing my best Jimmy... I can't think of his name right now. Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, man. I was like, say Jimi Hendrix. Say Jimi Hendrix.
Actually, I was just thinking Jimmy Durante. But,
those are equally
bad. Cha-cha-cha-cha. But I'm just full of them tonight. So, but yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, how could you... originally the movie didn't do fair when it first came out. And what's interesting beyond that is that the movie was made in the middle of summer. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't it wasn't a Christmas movie, and there's a lot of interesting stories behind that movie. But it is one of my all-time favorites. One, because I love Jimmy Stewart as an actor, and then just everything I've read about him. He's just an interesting person. Maybe we might have to do a night of classic Hollywood actors, and I would definitely include him in that list.
Bev, was it you in chat?
That would be me.
Was it you in chat, Bev, just now that didn't know? I had mentioned in chat while you walked out was you told me, or there's a fan theory, or was it Ridley Scott himself? It said Blade Runner and Aliens are in maybe the same universe.
They are in the same universe,
and that there is going to be a sequel to Blade Runner.
There is going to
be
a
remake.
Yeah, it's a sequel to Blade Runner. So many years.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, after there will be a Blade Runner sequel.
Wow.
And it'll have Harrison Ford in it. And
see, I got to go back and watch the original.
Ryan Gosling will be in it, too. What? He's a nice Canadian.
He's just everywhere. Everybody thinks
I think Bob has the DVD of Blade Runner.
Who doesn't? I mean, we have the...
I haven't seen it in ages.
I know where it's at. It's the director's cut is what we have.
I need to see it then.
Yeah, I'll have to pull it out of our vault.
You think you're so funny.
I am.
But what about, not necessarily remakes, what about unofficial sequels? Like, you have the Godfather of sci-fi. You have 2001: A Space Odyssey. And then you get this 2010 that is not an official. Kubrick completely denounced it. That's the whole reason Kubrick destroyed sets and props, so they couldn't get anything from his production.
Well,
but I still liked that movie. 2010.
And I'm trying to think of the author of that book. And
Arthur C. Clarke?
Yeah, he wrote 3 books in the 20,000 series, of whatever you want to call it, the 2001, 2010, and I think 2080 or 30, something like that. There's another book out there where they actually go to Europa. And, so, that's not really bad in the sense of, it's not a reboot. It's just a continuation, a sequel, if you will.
But, see, I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm old-fashioned, but I don't see why they have to do remakes of good movies. Why can't they just leave them good movies?
There's people who want to make money, and they don't care about the integrity of it, and money-grubbing whores, But,
don't they have to don't they have to buy the rights to the movie to remake it?
Sometimes the studio owns the rights to those movies, and that's how they're able to do these remakes. So, I mean, you really can't stop the machine, so to speak.
That's sad, though.
It is. Well, what doesn't make me sad is hearing you call in every week, so we appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
Well, I hope you have a great evening, and who are you going to listen to next week?
Well, you guys, of course.
Oh, there you go. You had me about to have a heart
Who
attack
else
there.
would I listen to?
Well,
there's so many choices
so
out
many
there.
choices out there, but we're glad that you're tuned into Spaceboy Universe.
But you're the only one I want to listen to.
Oh. I'm going to leave it there. Good night. We love you, Bev.
You know what I mean, no? Because you guys are my favorite.
See, you're going to get us in trouble, Bev.
Well, we can't help that.
Why?
It's just, it's not like we're buying her off or anything.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, just know that, wink, wink, that's all we need to we love you, and we know that you're going to tune in.
Well, I love you guys, too.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Bev, and give Bob a hug for us.
Only if he deserves it.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, he never deserves a hug, but I always hug him.
Oh, all right.
Love you guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Anybody in the call queue or? No? Yes? I mean, it's not rocket science.
Is this a new caller or is this still Bev?
I don't know.
Hello.
Can you hear? It sounds like Ty.
It is.
Hey,
yeah.
see? I know
have a feeling. You know your Canadians let down.
Yeah, like I said, I mentioned Ryan Gosling, and
if he calls in, will you recognize him?
Maybe.
Exactly, he's a good Canadian.
Yes, in fact, I was reading an article about how nice he is, and that was no joke. He's really a nice person.
Well, they probably have to disown him if he was not nice.
I think one of my favorite moments was when he was on Saturday Night Live, and they were doing the alien abduction scene where it had what's her name from in the Ghostbusters. I can't think of her name right now, but
Gene Hackman.
He was Gene Hackman. Thank you. So Ty, it's your turn. How are you, my friend?
A lot warmer than I was last time I called.
Same here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was watching BattleBots today. I had to have it on mute because it was in French.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder, is the Maker Faire like that?
It's similar, except that there's no buzzsaws and things like.
Yeah, it's not that violent looking, and they really foster a sense of a sportsmanship where you have two teams, but then they do a thing where they'll swap, and then the people you are competing against will now be your teammates. So it forces you to, have good relationships with people who are once, your opponent.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm. Now I do like the BattleBots that you were mentioning.
I got addicted to that when it was on
I mean, there were
Comedy Central.
Well, they had it recently over the summer here on ABC, and there's nothing cooler than
got really into it.
Some of these things getting torn up, and
that's where Grant Imahara came from.
From the MythBusters,
mm-hmm.
Yes,
he was doing that before he did MythBusters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was watching that this summer myself.
Yeah,
it was very good.
It must be cool to be able to do that.
It seems like the spinner ones are the best.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few where they had a leaky battery that exploded, and those were kind of cool, too,
Like the ones that shoot fire.
I remember the fire, yes.
See, he's laughing. It was telling you it was good.
No, I like it. I mean, I don't have that kind of brain that could put things together like that, but I really admire these young students who are able to do this and get into it, and a lot of these young ladies leading teams. It gives you hope for the future.
Yeah, the difference between the BattleBots thing and what the like the Texas Robotics Invitational that we went to, and then most recently FIRST. It's more educational, where they give the people blueprints to. You have to take this ball and put it into this area, and at the same time, there's several other tasks.
Each season, it's a different type of game or goal. They have to complete a task. It's not just a free for all, beat up robots beating each other up.
Yeah,
it's not about destruction. It's about building or trying to get more something than the other team has.
There's several tasks that they have to take to achieve the overall goal too. So I mean, you have different things going on, and I mean, there is a lot to watch and see, and it's just impressive because they're given the instructions, and you've got 6 weeks to get this thing
things built
in order to accomplish the goals
and comply with the rules, and So we're gonna go next week and see it in person.
Well, we're going to see the team
see what their progress is.
And you're going to get some video to post.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And this is a worldwide thing. It's not just something that's done in Texas. And they're going to have a championship here in Texas, here in Houston. So we're going to go to that. Be probably, don't know where, but if it's not at George R. Brown, I can't imagine.
I think it's at George R. Brown. But, we'll be bringing that to all the Space Cadets.
I would like to see that.
Yeah. And the guy that we're talking to, Jim Fox, is the guy who created that piezometry puzzle that we talked to him through Maker Faire. And I don't know if that's gone into production yet, but I'd love to send you one of those just to see if you quit talking to us trying to solve it.
I love puzzles, so yeah.
It comes in a bag. There's no solution. You could take the next 7 years to figure it out.
I mean, and what's interesting, it's not very big.
It's small.
But the fact is that, one, it's clear. And so it's not like you can say, okay, this part is a part of an eyeball of a bird, so it goes here. And
it's just abstract.
It's very abstract, and it gives you hours upon hours
of frustration. Like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Except at least with a Rubik's Cube, you can
there's solutions out there.
You can strip the things off, or you can pop the blocks off.
First day of my Rubik's Cube, I had all those stickers torn off, and I cheated. So, so what's going on with you, Ty?
You were talking about remakes. I was wondering if you have ever seen the remake of Battlestar Galactica.
No,
the series.
She hasn't, but I have.
I'm not interested.
And I actually thought it wasn't half bad. I wasn't a big fan of the Cylons in that particular show, but then they showed Caprica, and they showed the classic Cylons that I enjoyed as a kid. But overall, I thought it was good because which leads to another show that I really enjoyed, which was Stargate Universe, and it was filmed in that same kind of motion moving kind of like thing, and so I enjoyed it. It wasn't too bad. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it was very good. It was a lot darker than the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was an innovative way of looking at it as far as the Cylons go, mimicking the humans.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really good idea. And it kept you on your seat because you didn't know which one was a Cylon.
Right.
And it had lots of surprises.
Sounds like
yeah, I
Westworld.
thought it was really good.
Well, they're supposed to be making a movie, Battlestar Galactica, which is, I don't know if it's going to be based upon the original 1970s one or the more updated version that was on Sci-Fi. What's that?
What are they doing? Remaking?
They're making the Battlestar Galactica movie.
Oh.
So I don't know what angle they're going to come from on that particular angle, but do you really call that a reboot? I mean,
I remember the original.
Okay, I hate to compare this. This
when
is
it was on.
This is Beverly Hillbillies all over again, in the sense that you're taking the TV show and you're making
that
it,
was silly to begin with, and making it silly.
But yeah, it's that same adage. Like, well, I mean, it's not necessarily a reboot, but it is a reimagining. So I don't know. It's a hit and miss, wouldn't you say, Ty? I mean, there have been some good stuff, and then you've got some stuff that I cannot believe they did that.
I agree. Stargate Universe was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I really love the theme music for it, for one thing.
Right.
And the idea that maybe Egypt, was the beginning of where the aliens came from. So it kind of made a connection for me as far as that went.
Yeah, I think the subject matter on that
There's
was really...
talk of rebooting the movie version of Stargate.
Yeah.
In there?
Well, I heard there was talk, but then I've heard that they kind of backed out, so it's kind of in limbo again.
It doesn't need it.
What, the Stargate?
Are they trying to tie it into the TV series?
No, the guys that wrote the
They don't
original,
want that.
they had no
They don't want anything to do with
input on that show, which is sad because the show was halfway decent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, between the both of us, we enjoyed that, I would say... Separately, but as
When
much
we were
as
dating.
Star Trek, we got into the characters and everything, so I think you kind of checked out after Stargate Atlantis.
It sounded like it felt like a carbon copy of SGU. One. It just
And then,
like,
but of course, like you, Ty, I loved Stargate Universe, and Surlana will tell you how much conniption fit I had when.
Oh Lord!
And then that is when the end began for me with the Sci-Fi Channel, and then ultimately the end of cable.
Yeah, he got so mad. He not only stopped watching Sci-Fi, he trashed the whole cable package. We've never looked back.
I think it's been a good decision.
There's never a better reason, I think.
Yeah, but when we were trendsetters going to on-demand programming with Amazon and then ultimately other things that have been out there to go a la carte.
That's what we had been wanting for the last 15 years, and now we finally got it. It's like, I just want to watch the shows I want to watch, and I'm willing to pay for just that. And finally, we're living in that age. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Canadian government passed a law saying that the cable companies up here have to give you a very basic, slim, thin package, they call it, with a few local channels and some news channels and that sort of thing. And then you pay per channel.
And that's great.
That way you're not getting, paying $100 a month for stuff you don't watch, And the thin package is $25 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to worry about channels that you never watch. So I thought that was pretty good of the government to step in.
The government does do some nice things every once in a while.
Occasionally.
Well, Ty, we appreciate.
I also wanted to.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I also wanted to. I just wanted to thank you again for the space swag. We got our phone working, so I got a picture of it. Dennis put a picture of it up, so everybody can see.
Cool. We'll have to check that out.
I really love it. I really love the stuff, and I
forgot what we
Dolores
said.
Blue Raven's book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Reads kind of like poetry.
She definitely is interesting, and it was great to give some of her books away. And just whenever she comes out with something new, I'll let everybody know. And we're one of the she's a part of the family, so to speak, and so we like to toot her horn whenever we can, because she's been so generous with us too. So.
Okay, I know you're running over time, so I'll just say good night to the to the space cadets. Sorry, and you guys have a great night too, eh?
All right, Ty.
Right. We appreciate you.
Okay, we appreciate you too.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, do we have anybody else on the caller? I mean, we could take a few more calls if somebody wants to call in.
I'm trying. This interface, it keeps the dropped call, so it can't make.
Right.
Okay, no. I think we're fine.
Okay. This is the last chance to call in to the Spaceboy universe.
And that is 844-734-7286, 834-734-SBUN.
Which is a toll-free number.
Yes.
Surlana, as we kind of end the show here shortly, what about some housekeeping? Next week?
Gosh, I can't even think. Well, next week we're going to talk about Linda Moulton Howe. Not necessarily, she's not going to be on the show, but there's some famous cases that I've heard more recently that absolutely fascinate me. In fact, I was able to find one of the older ones that after the first time I heard it, I was like, what? And it was really, I really want to talk about that one and ask if anybody else has heard this particular story. Mm-hmm. She talks about it. She had it on her site for a while, but it's a guy that calls in and talks about something he witnessed. And I've never heard anyone else ever mention that type of thing.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking about that. And then plus at the end of this month, the 28th, we're going to kind of circle back to underground bases. We had such a wonderful conversation on the 7th about the Dulce Wars.
And there's more.
There's more.
Bases.
And in regards to bases, Phil Snyder is going to come back up. We're going to talk about Anthony Sanchez's book, Unknown Highway. Material there.
I found some more on Amazon that I want to read, and I think one of them is Dolan's book.
Oh yeah,
Underground Bases.
It's so another exciting night of
if I can read it in time.
Of underground bases. So we'll look forward to that.
There's that one down in Australia, Pine Gap.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know much about it.
Well, let's not talk about it.
No, I'm just saying I don't know anything about it. I can't talk about it.
Yeah, so the 28th, we'll be talking about that. And on the 28th, we'll have the next month's schedule up. And, at that time, you'll be able to see the exciting guests we have for February, which I'm not telling you until then. But, yeah, just look at that. Yeah.
The first 2 February shows are like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's more of a theme going on in February.
Yeah.
More of a French theme. And then March is going to be very educational.
I think it's just like going to blow through here really quick.
It's going to be very educational, but I will make it as entertaining as possible.
And, so good stuff coming down the pipe.
And we'll
on
have
that.
Patrick Sporer back.
He doesn't
know it yet.
I wasn't going to just put myself out on a limb here, but yes, periodically we have Patrick in this kind of cycle, and Patrick Sporer is a friend of the show, and
he's always welcome to call in.
Yeah, so
anytime.
At any time, he can call in, but most of the time
we haven't told him yet he's coming back, but
he's always in the darkness watching.
The
show.
That's what I like about him, though.
Yeah, but at least we always get some good stuff from him.
I'll just give you a hint for one of the March shows. One of them's for the ladies.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay.
And
so it
open up right there. Yeah, and we've got at least 3 months of shows waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're not going anywhere, and if things pan out, hopefully we'll start seeing
some more content
from the video aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, you definitely next week for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is the last call. I'm going to tell you 844-734-7286 to give you one last opportunity to call in.
There's one more thing, babe. I can't remember.
Well, if James Cruz is listening, hey, I appreciate you sending me your email, but I was asking for your address. So
somebody that has really impressed me with their knowledge of the Spaceboy universe tonight in chat has been Karen.
Really?
Yes. I wonder if Karen should get something for that.
Well, Karen, if you want some stuff from the universe, how do you do it? You send me your email, or you send an email to stuff@spaceboyuniverse.com. That's stuff, STUFF at spaceboyuniverse.com. And in that email that you send there, go ahead and include your address so that we can...
A mailing address. So we can send you
some space swag.
Some space swag for knowing what Gene Hackman syndrome means.
Yes, exactly.
See, you get extra credit points sometimes, cadets, if you're paying attention and make callbacks and the correct references.
Mm-hmm. But, we'll get James taken care of. And Dino, we haven't forgot about you. Dino is going to be getting the new Spaceboy album, Unique Technique. So we'll get you sent that. Sunday is usually our best day when we get all this stuff together.
We have a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to get this show together, and John's show, and the music, and
because we do more than
we
the
need
universe.
An intern.
We do. So, but other than that, I guess nobody wants to call in. So I guess we'll wrap up the conversation. I know
there was one more thing, but I couldn't remember what, as far as said housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Next week we'll have more on the First in Texas competition, because we will be there with them to get video and report on that, and we're really excited about that. And we'll be around as usual.
And of course, Space Cadets, reach out to Red Viking Dave and thank him for being a part of the show tonight. Also, thank UFO Jane.
That was it.
For being a part of the universe.
Thank her, and we may hear from her.
I think that she might be a regular on the show, periodically giving us
like our little go-to
UFO expert,
researcher.
And she seems very enthusiastic about the universe, and we're enthusiastic about her.
We may talk to her more about in April.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got something lined up in April, and then I've got a special Funko Pop to give away at that time too. I don't want to give the show away. Just know that a special Funko Pop will be going out to someone who deserves it. All right, Surlana.
Which could be anybody.
It could be anybody. So, tune in. We spin the wheel and somebody gets lucky. So, I guess that covers housekeeping?
Yeah, it does.
Once again, we want to thank all the Space Cadets for tuning in and supporting us, and we look forward to giving you a brand new show next week.
And we're not above bribing you.
Yeah, we're not above bribing you to come back, as we've demonstrated since we've come back strong this better half of September, better half of 2016. I was thinking of when we created the show, September 28th.
2015.
Because we were talking to some people about our show.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, more on that. But other than that, say goodnight, Surlana.
Good night, Surlana.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Surlana. Executive producer is Surlana. Producer credit goes out to Dennis Koch. Find Spaceboy at spaceboymusic.com and spaceboyuniverse.com. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. You have reached your final destination. Good night, Space Cadets.